Tell those musicians to start playing some action music because it is on.
Ooh, action music.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cheap Seat Critics podcast. I am one of your hosts, a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Sprinks. And hey, if listening or watching, are out there and you want to follow on or see anything, like, well, what are these guys up to lately? Hey, you look up Cheap Seat Critics podcast on like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, uh, LetterBox, YouTube, Rumble. You'll find us, and you'll I don't know, you'll do something. Thanks.
You'll comment a lot.
You could. You're not
They
forced
certainly
to,
could.
but you could.
And today we're covering Kung Fu Panda 2, the sequel to the first one we covered 2 seasons ago now? Or, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
thereabouts.
season 15.
um, so, yeah, I felt it appropriate to go right into the sequel for this season because I also have a lot of nostalgic, fond memories of this. And I guess with that, let's just go right into our histories, gentlemen. Crimson, why don't you start?
All right. Fond memories of this. Yes, I did have some of those. I don't remember the first time I watched this movie. I'm pretty sure it was not in theaters, but I could not tell you where I saw it. I've seen it a handful of times, maybe five, six, something along those lines would be my guess. Um, yeah, that's not much more in depth. If you want to hear more about my Kung Fu Panda history in general, check out the first video where I go more in depth with it.
Springs?
This is my first time seeing the movie for the pod. I have seen the trailer, however, where the joke of arch nemesis stairs joke was in it for how many times? I've probably seen that commercial at least 20 times.
Yeah, actually, I know what you're talking about because I think I rewatched that movie on DVD and it was one of like the pre-commercials or whatever.
Yeah, so I think that's it. I may have seen the Happy Meal toys when the movie came out.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I'll go right into me because actually mine's also going to be pretty short. I don't remember when I first saw this, but I know I watched it a lot after I saw it. It's I probably seen it as much as the first one. It was again very big family thing for me. They really loved the movie, so I ended up really loving the movie, that sort of thing. And we shall see if it can stand the test of time. Um, all right.
Scrutiny.
Yeah. Well, I guess with that, I will jump us into some fun facts if you guys are ready for that.
I love me some fun facts.
Ready as I can
Yeah.
be.
All right. Yeah. Kung Fu Panda 2 had a budget about 150 million USD. And it was the highest grossing film directed by a female director until Frozen. Um, and it was the highest grossing film solely directed by a female director until Wonder Woman. So interesting
Interesting.
facts.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until looking up facts for this film. So that was actually kind of funny to figure that out. The director is named Jennifer Yu Nelson. She is known for The Darkest Minds and also for directing Kung Fu Panda 3. Um, and uh, along with Puss in Boots, this is the first time since 2008 that DreamWorks Animation released two animated feature films in the same year. Um,
This and what?
uh, this in Puss in Boots,
Oh,
the original Puss
okay.
in Boots. Um, and yeah, I think this is also the eighth animated film by DreamWorks. So at this point they've had a fair few under their belts.
Now that's a surprising fact. This is number 8?
Yes.
That seems too low.
Uh, yeah, let's trying to think of the other ones that came before it: Shark Tale, B Movie, Over the Hedge, Kung Fu Panda. Monsters Aliens. Only the first How to Train Your Dragon, and this is a specific studio. So only Shrek Forever After #4 was directed here.
Ah, okay, that explains it.
Yeah,
Not
yeah, and then
DreamWorks
it's
overall.
yeah. Uh, and for funds, did everyone spot the chameleon? Because I sure did.
No, I don't know who the chameleon is.
Gary
Uh,
Oldman voices Shen.
got it. I see what
Oh,
I see what you meant there.
see, I thought you were referencing the fourth
Yeah,
movie.
the fourth movie
No.
where the character called the chameleon. So
The chameleon.
I'm like,
Oh,
wow,
is
they
there
really
is there
hinted
a
too much.
character called the chameleon in the fourth movie? I
That's the
didn't know
villain
that.
of the fourth movie.
That's the bad guy, yeah.
Good to know. I haven't seen Kung Fu Panda 4 because I didn't want to.
Uh,
uh,
what have I?
But yes, I did
no.
catch Gary Oldman.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the running inside joke of the podcast. I didn't realize you took it another way because I didn't know there was a villain. The chameleon, which explains the heavy silence. If I do say so myself. Um. Uh. And I guess with that, gentlemen, we shall. Unless you got facts of your own, are we ready to dive right in?
Yeah, I
Did
have
you know
no.
Jack Black was in this?
No, I didn't know that.
Wow,
Sorry.
you're.
You're
Whew.
crazy. Jack Black. Who does he play?
I know we're covering Kung Fu
uh,
Panda, but it sounds
I,
like you're covering Donkey from Shrek over there.
I'm covering Donkey from Shrek, huh?
Yeah, you
You
don't have to
know,
be
Jack
an
Black's
ass
best
about it.
role, Donkey. All right, I'm ready to go. I don't
There
have
we go.
any other facts, I guess. I mean, I can grab some in my head if you want. You wouldn't believe who played Tigress.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're not gonna tell me. Listen, you're not gonna tell me it's Mrs. Smith, right? That would be really weird.
That would be crazy.
All right. Yeah. So the format for today is like the first one. Is going to be popcorn. Um, and why don't you start us off, Crimson?
All right. Shall I start the way you guys tend to start? The beginning.
I don't
Because
know.
I
Was
was
it
in
last time
Oh,
you started at the end or something?
Yes, it was later for sure. Definitely not the beginning.
you've done actually the last couple times I've done popcorn. You've always started with something at the end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can do that. No, I'll start at the beginning here with the puppet show. I went and looked up what that's actually called, and it's got
The
a couple
animation style, you
names.
mean?
No,
Or do you mean just?
it's emulating a shadow puppet show,
Oh yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. Okay.
but I didn't know the name of the shadow puppet show, and it's called a leather puppet show or leather monkey puppet show. I don't really know why monkey's involved in the title, but uh, I think that was a good integration and a good way to convey that. It's good. We gave a couple different animation styles in here. We get the 2D with the flashbacks. We get the standard 3D, and then we get this, which the shadow one is technically a 2D animation, but it's a different style for it.
Mhm.
And I think they did a good job with it because there's moments where they try to emulate like people are actually controlling the puppets and trying to make the movements seem uh, controlled and not just
Twitchy and jittery like a human hands might be
yeah
on strings. Yeah, I could definitely see that, especially with the when the screen is more still and like the characters are trying to react to each other in the flashback. Yeah, I could definitely see that a little bit more in those moments.
yeah like when Shen parents were like in awe or fear of him and they're embracing each other. There's just a little bit of shake showing that someone's holding the puppets. So,
Or to
good detail.
simulate
Yeah,
some
just
But
simulate.
yes, they're not real puppets.
Yes, it is animated.
Yes, which is what I said at the beginning. Good context clues to build off of. Uh, and I forgot the through line I was going with that, but there you go. I don't know if you guys have more to talk about that.
Sure. I can talk about the opening because I also got some stuff to say. The opening has a purpose. Obviously, is to introduce us to our new character, pretty much. That's going to be in the story, and that's Shen, who's a peacock, kind of, I guess, like a fallen prince would be the best way to describe him. Um, and it's interesting that it's his backstory is told in a similar but different style to Poe's dream in the first DreamWorks movie. Whereas that serves as an introduction to Poe, it serves here as an introduction to Shen.
That's true. Both starting with a different animation style. Yeah.
Yeah. Both pertaining to their characters because they are both obviously the opening is very important to Poe's character in the first film, and here it's very important to Shen because it helps to lay the groundwork for stuff that's going to be contextualized later, and definitely hints at a few things that Shen did.
Yeah, little genocide here, little genocide there. Yeah.
Uh,
Little stuff for kids movies.
yeah. I think Sprinks, you asked the question in the first film about why Poe is the only panda around. Do you have your answer now?
You did ask that, yeah.
Well, um, for a good chunk of this movie, I did.
And then it raised the question at the end.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Yeah, the difference is that those that survived were pretty much they moved far enough away to get out of the way. That's
Is
what
that
you
the
do.
explanation in the third movie?
I don't know that I've only seen the third movie once, so I actually can't answer that for you. My
Okay.
guess, based off of this film, is that typically when you're refugees, you get as far away from the problem, whatever's causing you the problem. So I don't have an issue with them being super far away.
Fine, the distance is the problem. The fact that they are alive is the problem.
That's what I had. To me, that weakened Shen.
Oh, I see what
It
you mean.
weakened everybody because the whole village was attacked, uh, and you're telling me no wolves saw pandas run away, even one that was actually fighting the wolves, and didn't report that to Shen. Oh, some got away, sir. Uh, None of that. They just poof. Look, we have a whole village that survived outside this village somewhere else.
Also, Shen's
Yeah.
prophecy hasn't changed over the course of Poe's lifetime so far. I don't know how old Poe's supposed to be. Um, I'm
Well,
gonna
Shen
guess.
was kicked out 30 years ago, but we don't know when he went on the genocidal rage. We don't know when that happened.
Yeah, we just know it happened when Poe was a baby, and then now Poe is
Yeah.
now. I don't know if Poe's even an adult.
Um, it's best guess from the audiences because I don't think it's ever confirmed for us. Poe is somewhere between the age of 10 and 20. Like if we were to ascribe human years to these characters, um, I would assume he's in his late teens.
Okay,
This I know this is supposed to be obviously very recently after the first film. So I assume he's in his late teens, and Shen would be in his probably 40s, I would guess.
okay.
Mm,
So
all right. I just thought,
at
okay.
least given a decade of this, since the instance of taking down Poe's family's village, and I guess Shen just believes that pandas are gone because he doesn't see any.
As long as they're not anywhere near to causing problems, uh, Shen is very egotistical, so I don't have an issue of him lingering on it for long.
But do you think he
But
waited another 10 years before asking to see his fortune again?
oh, he didn't meet the soothsayer was in service to his parents, so he didn't meet the soothsayer until he took his castle back.
But yeah, it has been 10 years,
I
roughly.
feel like, yeah.
You said you looked it up, Crimson.
It was something unrelated.
Okay.
I looked up the lifespan of a peacock because I was like 30 years. I don't think peacocks can live that long.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
that's cool. It would be cool fact to know. I don't think it's relevant to this.
they live 15 to 20 years in the wild and up to 40 in captivity. So
Neat.
yeah, there you go. Your peacock
S
fact for the day.
Yeah. Uh, sorry, I interrupted your thought though.
Uh, yes, it was gone.
Rip.
Sweet. Got the
Uh,
pencil in a forehead.
yeah. Yeah. So I guess I'll go back to the focus a bit on Shen here. I don't know if I would take that as a world building issue or a character issue, because I it could go either way for me
There we go. I
with what you
got it.
guys are digging into.
You you
Happy to
you
trigger
you
something.
you sparked it by saying character moment because that's what I was going to say. He seemed like a character that would make sure of it. He wouldn't just be, oh well, we had our one attack, they're gone now. He would
Yeah,
search the areas. He would ask the villagers, see any pandas anywhere. That it would be a thorough search.
yeah. That's touching upon one of my inconsistencies with how his character is portrayed in the plot. Um, because as a character, I do think he would be doing that, but it's for plot reasons that he chose that he didn't, which is why I'm don't know where to kind of land the blame as far as the issue is concerned. It's I think it's a plot issue that damages character is what it is.
How long do you think the trek
Probably
is from the Valley of Peace to, was it Genhauten City?
Gongnan City.
Gannan City?
Yeah, that was a note I had. Was I was guessing days, potentially weeks. Uh, but then we get Shifu who shows up in an hour.
Well, it's Shifu. He can
Uh,
teleport. We've see proof
yeah,
of his
we
teleportation.
definitely established that he can teleport in this film, which is getting into some fucking issues I have with him as a character as well. But yes, my guess is days, uh, days to weeks. That was pretty much my guess.
Okay. Because I
Yeah,
think to
because he
me
had
that
to.
helped cut off like a radiance of how far then Shen would go for panda hunting.
Yes.
Because
Well,
otherwise, over that decade of being shunned, he wouldn't have branched out to Valley. Well, I guess one direction rather than a whole circumference of land. But
he thought he
Um,
wiped out every panda, not just every panda in the area. He thought he made them extinct.
yeah,
If he thought, oh, there's pandas outside our area, that won't be an issue. Then his reaction to Poe being there wouldn't exist. He'd be like, oh, he's just an outside panda. No, he
I
thought he
think
killed every
yeah.
panda.
I also thought
definitely.
with Poe being alive that it was totally fine because Poe's being raised in a place that is not panda village or anywhere accumulated by pandas to be around. So it's totally off radar to envision a panda there. But I feel like Shen's intelligent enough to go to every single place pandas are, or you know,
Yeah,
habitating in.
where pandas normally would be. I do. My best guess, this is me writing for the film, and it is still an issue. My best guess is Shen went as far as he could uh, to uh, basically kill off any pandas that could be a threat. I don't think he would have spent his life going around the whole world killing every panda that he could find. That would take too much time. But I definitely feel he exterminated all the ones that would be anywhere considered local. In the Valley of
Yeah,
Peace, while not local, it would be, I think it'd be considered in his range because from what we get in the film, he clearly didn't expect a panda to be in the Valley of Peace.
yeah.
And to me,
And
that was
he's
okay.
willing to send his wolves that far now, so I'm sure he was willing to send them that far before.
Yeah.
That would
So
be within
I
his
assume
range.
I definitely assume yeah, I definitely assume that anything within his range, like up to the Valley of Peace, however far away that may be, that's probably about as far as he went. And Springs pointed out he probably went to the panda specific villages to target them.
Yeah,
So
Well,
it's not really again it's not really a patchwork. It's just don't it's just that's where it starts creeping into world building issue because I don't know where the panda villages are located. I consider that a very minor issue. We just know that Poe can float down to one of them from being shot out of a building.
yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out too.
and
That was
cementing that
yeah,
it's 10 years at least. I feel like more time for Shen showing in his backstory and development over the film is more focused on getting rid of pandas than it is to build a weapon. So I feel like in that time
yeah.
of being shunned, it would have been more focused on panda genocide than collecting of metal.
Oh, yeah. Well, his whole thing was uh all right. So going to the opening flashback where this conversation started, funny enough. We know that he left, committed to an attack or two, and then came back. Obviously within the lifetime of his parents, and they're the ones that banned him from the city. Um, I have no idea where I was gonna go with that thought. There's number two, everybody.
Well, with
We
what you
lost the
just
second
gave,
one.
yes, that true.
That is what happened.
Yes. Uh, yeah, there was a point to that. Oh well.
Uh, well, it also boils down to this is still a kids movie. I think there's only so much they can get away with the genocide stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm not.
Uh,
I'm fine with how reserved they are. I don't need to be. I don't need it to be super graphic.
No, it's just
if
like
if I grabbed that correctly
to
from
me, it's like the
sources.
first movie with the instance we had of the Furious Five not running back up to Shifu and just staying in the village, like celebrating Poe. I kind of have that with the ending of this movie showing the pandas surviving because to
Yeah,
me
Oh
that's
yeah,
it's
mainly just
I
Shen.
don't like that at all.
yeah. There is definitely like yeah. I do think it damages Shen as well. I'm just not too sure to the degree. Because there is a distinct difference between the young brash prince who went out and just haphazardly tried to attack all the panda villages and wouldn't really care about slaughtering all of them. He just wanted to do as much damage as possible, so they were never anywhere near him while he lived out his life. Or the calculating adult who's focused on building a weapon, who would now be doubly sure at this point to make sure there are no pandas in this area. So even if the young one was haphazard in his genocide, the adult one would not be. Version of Shen would not be.
Yeah, more calculated.
Yeah.
Mm, I'm sure it's answered in the third one, this panda village at the end, whether or not it's an already existed one outside his reach and the dad just went there, or if the entire village is from Poe's village.
Yeah.
Um, one
My
would be better
best
than the other.
yeah. I'm I think there's a couple throwaway lines with it. Um there were other villages far out there already and they just accepted refugees is kind of the gist of what I remember. But I mean again, I'm not gonna say that with 100% certainty because I've only seen the film once and it was on an airplane flight. So under
Yeah,
very strange conditions that I watched this film. The third film.
I'm
Hey,
trying to
I
go back
learned
to what
that
Sprinks' point
I was
was.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Hey, peacocks invented fireworks. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, in
This
this world.
universe, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
y-
it's
you're
definitely an homage to China inventing fireworks and black powder and all of that. So it was very interesting to have Shen be the character to kind of see the more horrible use to be found in black powder.
sinister side.
Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say something, Crimson?
Yes, Sprinks' point was you were, at least I was thinking, you were saying it would be better to show more of the genocide stuff and less of the collecting metal. Is that what you were saying before?
N- um, no, I think it just the end scene ruins the feel of Shen's ability, kind of like wiping out pandas, which is his downfall that he knows is going to occur, or the fortune that hasn't changed.
Yeah, I'm coming to agree. Even if I were to say that like I know nothing about the third film in the scenario I'm about to say, in isolation of this film, it does damage Shen's character a little bit by the fact that we see that at the end.
Yeah, that I would say definitely damages in here. And and this is a thing I have with like fortune tellers or future seers, whatever you want to call them, are the ones that up the scenario in the first place. Because
Uh,
if she didn't say anything, nothing would have happened. But of course, her explanation is, "I could never have foresaw what he could have done." I'm like, why not? Do you only see the Poe prophecy? Do you see nothing else?
Oh, well, yeah, I think her exact line is, "But what he did next, only sealed it," or whatever, in the at least in the opening.
Yeah, but why couldn't she see the genocide stuff?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Couldn't tell.
I'm just telling you,
Again, fortune
I'm in
stuff.
agreement. That's fortune teller trope stuff. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, they didn't try hard to avoid it.
No,
In fact, they tried to just write it off by saying, "I could not have foreseen this."
I think you
But
have a
why
really
could
good
you have
point
foreseen
though
this?
that fortune tellers and media don't fully help in instances you're stating right now. One that comes to mind of animation that I think is fairly funny and works is the Fates and Hercules. I think they're all good, and the only live action one that's coming to mind that I think is good is in Ghost of Whoopi Goldberg,
Yeah.
like her power.
As far as I understand how fortune tellers usually when fortune tellers pertain to like in are used in stories, it's pertaining to the concept of destiny, usually in fate. And usually the my interpretation is that the fortune tellers are trying to kind of keep everybody on the linear path that they see sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it's in a
Mhm.
general sense. Yeah,
Um,
that's not what she was going for here, though. She didn't want the outcome that happened until it
of
already
them
happened. Then
being
she wanted
slaughtered.
Poe to actually kill him. Uh, but I don't know. It's lame. And we had a pretty long talk on Willow with their future seer as well on that one. I
Yeah, I'm
remember
not.
that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's like I don't know if I have. I don't know if it's a issue that I have with the soothsayers. Not her character. My issue is with her, I guess, ability.
Yeah.
Um,
Or the written ability given for the story. Because if she had every answer, I think this would be a lot shorter movie, or just different.
yeah,
Maybe not
yeah, that's
shorter,
when
but
that's what I said, and not so. Yeah, I don't have an issue with her character. I have an issue with her ability because I don't think, as you say, Crimson. Obviously, it's out of character for her to have seen genocide and not talk about it. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's usually the danger whenever you have someone who has a future side of some sort. Whenever you introduce them in a story,
I mean they could
Yeah.
immediately fix it that her bowl that she uses needs ingredients and she's just out of ingredients.
Well, that I mean, she worked for royalty. They would have just gathered the ingredients.
Yeah, but it would
I
help
mean, they
slow her
that's
down, kind of thing,
I
or
mean
for
that's what
Shen to use time.
that's what they use though. It's like she takes Shen's feather and like a piece of his cloak and puts it in a bowl. So clearly, to tell someone's fortune, she needs something specific to that person.
Mhm. Yeah, eh, I think it's too wishy-washy. They didn't put enough thought into it for being
Um,
such a core component of this whole story. The fact that a fortune teller tells the wrong guy his fortune, so he goes on a tirade.
uh, it would be interesting to think if his parents are the ones that commanded her to give the fortune, and that's kind of what sparked everything at the end of it. Just which would be an interesting interpretation to have, but I don't know if I'm not saying that helps, but I'm just saying that would be another layer to add on to the Soothsayer character
Mhm.
that she
Yeah.
didn't want to tell Shen his fortune, and his parents made him because his parents loved him.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that would be an interesting, change.
Um, let's see. Uh,
Something I wish, kind of for this whole film, since the fortune was given of Shen's downfall, of that he'd be defeated by a being of black and white. I was hoping it wasn't going to be a panda or Poe.
And just the zebra
I
comes up, "Hey!"
Well, not something that I thought it would be cool if something else black and white is what defeated Shen, and not initially just Po. Because his fixation is like, got to get rid of pandas because that's going to be his downfall, because that's what he assumed the black and white fortune meant. And I think it would have been cool
Uh,
if it was actually something else.
I can point out that it is something else.
I
Technically,
was about
Shen
to
beats
say it.
himself when he's
Yeah,
black and white.
I was gonna say that.
Oh, he's his own downfall.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the main takeaways to have from the themes of the story, as it were.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't
See.
take it away that
Oh,
way. I didn't fixate on more of his black. I had him as a color palette of red and white, but you're right.
he does have that. I mean, I agree. I mean, it's very predictable, right? If they threw in a twist that it was something else, that would probably be better. Well, not better for the characters involved, but a twist is always fun.
I mean, if they're going to keep the ending showing pandas still exist, would a twist be better for the film if it was like one of those pandas defeated Shen? Like secretly,
No,
so there isn't a whole conversation of like Poe, Scene, or Fierce Five talking or something with them, but it's just like they were in the background and defeated him.
that's something that would have to be built, and that could
Yeah,
be quite anticlimactic.
that yeah, that could be considered anticlimactic because if you spend no time with them, and that falls into the danger of subverting expectations territory, um, and that's apparently very hard for writers to do. So,
In a satisfying way.
in a satisfying. Yeah, I'm in the camp of I like twists as long as they're well written. Otherwise, I usually prefer people to stick to their guns because twists in of themselves don't inherently make something good. So it would be interesting if they did do something different with the prophecy. Um, but interesting is probably the best you're going to get out of me from concept alone.
Okay.
Turns out the wolf came back and finished him off because
Nah,
he's gray, which is a combination of
nah.
black and white.
It's funny enough. I actually think the wolf is pretty well characterized for his short screen time.
I looked him up on Letterbox, and he doesn't even have a name. This Wolf Boss,
Wolf boss. That's funny.
voiced by
Uh,
Danny McBride,
Oh,
which I
Danny
didn't
Black.
pick that up on. Yeah, it didn't really sound like him.
good voice actor then, I guess.
Hmm.
All right. Spriggs, would you like to jump to somewhere?
Sure. I don't think Poe spat out 40 bao buns or bean buns.
Yeah, bean buns.
Oh, at the
I
beginning.
I don't
didn't
think it
count.
was
Yeah,
40. It did not
I
seem
didn't count.
enough.
Well, he swallowed 20 of them.
Could be. He could have swallowed some. Yeah.
But visually, you're right. I don't think that was 40 visually portrayed. And his comment of save some for me, like they're gonna eat those that were in his mouth. Yeah,
I agree. I do like the scene though. It kind of shows how far they've come as a group in their short time together. Like they're all at least friends.
especially tigers.
Yeah, Tigers is the one encouraging him to break the record.
Good. Sorry, it just touches on something later in the film that I thought was not good. Um, so
Oh,
it's good that they're a team here.
okay. So you're implying they don't have a team moment later.
There's
All
something
right,
later that I was confused why it was there.
all right. Well, it sounds like you want to hold on to it.
I mean,
We'll
it's
hold it.
popcorn. I can go straight to it.
It's true. It's
If
up to
you,
you.
Yeah.
But if
I
you want to
should.
hold on
No,
to
I'll go
it,
straight to it because I can. And not to keep the audience in patient.
suspense.
I was gonna, yeah, never, whatever. Sorry, I tripped over my own tongue. Um,
Anticipation.
well, yes, but from Rocky Horror,
Oh,
anticipation. Um, anyway, yeah, when Poe's in the jail and he's like fighting with Tigress, and she's like, "Tell me the truth," and he doesn't cough up telling the truth, and I'm like, "This is your team. Why are you being hesitant? Why aren't you speaking up?" And then she's like, "All right, well, we can't trust you right now, so you gotta stay," which makes sense for Tigress. And he goes, "No, I'll stay." And she goes, "All right, well, you're still a liability to the team. Stay here."
So your complaint is he didn't tell them?
Yeah,
Is that where you're going? Okay.
Yeah. My complaint is that he didn't
he
tell
just
them.
sat on his ass.
I,
Um,
drama for drama's sake. You're not going to hear much argument from me.
yeah.
I'm like, they're showing this whole
Uh,
team thing, this whole conversation with Tigress on the boat that they had, and this whole night talk, and like a lot of development between these two. And then you get to this scene, and it just sits there.
yeah. I yeah. My best guess is that, or best faith interpretation is that Poe just wants to still look cool in the eyes of the five because he's living his dream, but he's still a kid at heart, so he hasn't like come back around fully. But because it is a good scene, it's just because the correct decision is that they would want him to stay there because he's not of his right mind. Um, but I find it weird that Poe wouldn't want to tell them up until he's pushed to tell them, and I think it has to do with probably the embarrassment.
I guess so, but it just seemed like a moment that he didn't trust his team.
I think it was less him not trusting his team and him just wanting to keep something to himself. I think if Shifu was there, he wouldn't say it to Shifu. I don't think it was a trust thing. It was more of an internal thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the internalized thing would be the embarrassment part of it. Uh, because he's embarrassed because he let Shannon go. He's embarrassed because of. I mean, in the previous scene when they're escaping and stuff like that, a lot of what happens there is his fault. Um, so he is kind of embarrassed because that was his fault.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
and that was caught. It wasn't brought up later where he explained it and then went quiet, which I think is that would have been better because then it's a shocked point for the Furious Five to kind of process the event when they already know it beforehand with this, trying to get an answer out of Poe.
yes, I think so. I agree with that.
Yeah, like I said, drama for drama. Gotta
Yeah.
throw it in there.
Uh,
Well, they don't have to.
yeah. I mean, like, I get the point of it, for sure, because this is shocking events for Poe, but I think they definitely need to kind of go about it a different way. Like, have
Agreed.
Tigers already have figured it out because of their conversation on the boat. Like, she knows why Poe hesitated and why Poe's having trouble. So she just spills it out for the rest of the five to know and why she's made the decision to want to keep him there or wants him to stay.
Yeah, with the cowardly croc and ox.
Yeah.
There are some interesting characters.
Since we're mentioning characters, you say, do you sure they qualify?
Sprinks would say uh, anything that has a speaking role is a character. I'd say barely, like bare minimum.
There's definitely archetypes there. I don't.
Well, to speak on my part of that, yeah, Master Croc and Master Ox are characters.
Do you agree with my assessment of you?
Uh, kind, not fully, because there's
What
characters
would
who
be
are
an
mute.
outlier? Oh, okay, but my point as a whole, though, if a character does have I say character, an individual has a speaking role, they're a character to you. Yeah. If
Um,
there's a scene in the movie where a mailman's like, "Here's your mail," and then walks away. Is that a character?
yeah,
Okay. I will jump to a point unless we're still on this
on the
thing.
mailman? No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, no, no, we're doing that. Okay.
Leaving Poe behind.
Yeah. All right. I'll jump to a line I did not see coming out of Poe's mouth. It definitely felt like something the writers wanted to put in there for an overarching sentiment of the film. And it was when they finally breached the perimeter of the the tower, I guess, and they're in the courtyard. And Poe says, "Next time you mess with a panda, you better bring a whole." Like Poe never once cared that he was a panda. In the first movie, it wasn't really relevant here. He would absolutely say the Dragon Warrior or Furious Five. He would not say panda. That didn't make any sense to me, other than they wanted connections to the film being so panda centric. But Poe wouldn't say panda.
That's a good point.
Um, no, I actually you're gonna have to move me on this one. I think.
What?
Yeah, you're gonna have to move me on this one. I think there's perfectly context for him to identify himself as a panda. That's how Tai Lung refers to him in the first film. You're a panda. What are you gonna do, big guy? Sit on me? Don't tempt me. He embraced his identity as a panda. That's like his thing. So him back talking as the animal he is perfectly fine in character.
No, he never refers to him as panda. He embraces his body, his shape, his weight. He's never like, I'm a proud panda. He's proud of
Yeah,
who he
which are
is
and
in
but
general
all that is
sense.
intrinsic to him being a panda.
He he doesn't ever bring up the care of being a panda.
Uh, in this film, he does.
Later, once it actually becomes relevant to him, at this point, it doesn't
No,
matter to
if
him.
no, it happened earlier. He had his talk with his dad by now.
Okay, I don't see how that really connects to him now caring that he's a panda, though. He just wants to know where he's from.
Yes, because he's a panda. It never really crossed his mind up until that conversation.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like this is pretty clear to me, and I don't know what I could really say going forward. Well, um,
Um,
Briggs, you said you agree. Do you have a point that I haven't said going forward?
The point I would make, because it could make sense for Poe to say panda. I think it's the case of the Furious Five being with him. If Poe was by himself in the situation, I think the panda line would have been totally fine because he's talking about himself. The fact that he's working in a group in the situation at hand, I think Furious Five or Panda Warrior would have been more appropriate.
and I could just
Mm,
contextualize this as Poe is the only one directly fighting him. The fighters five are there, but they were support.
And that makes it feel neglectful of his team.
Poe doesn't see them as support. He sees them as a team.
Yes, I know.
And there's
Okay.
nothing that they've done to cause him to try to get away from them. Actually, in better fact, it seems like there's more instances where he wants to still continually feel like he's a part of the team.
That's true. There is a lot of that. Um, yeah, I don't have any issue with him introducing himself as a panda here. I have an issue with the response line because it was an easy give me and it pissed me off. Like mess with the wolf, you get the fangs or
Thanks.
whatever. When the obvious response should have been, "You mess with the wolf, you get the pack," because Poe trailed off talking about an army.
Sure. Yeah.
That one I just view as a missed opportunity. I don't
Oh,
have any issues with it. It's just a missed opportunity.
yeah. Sprinks, you usually don't like cliches. Or not usually. You there's times you don't like cliches. Is the "you and what army" cliche one of them? Because this is kind of like an offshoot of that.
Yeah. No, it can work in times. I mean, the big one that comes to my head is Deathly Hallows Part Two
Yeah.
of Neville shouting it, but no, that can work.
It works. I think it works better here than there because he doesn't finish the line, so it's played for more comedic effect, which I think helps. At least in your case, Springs, because I don't care
No, no,
about the
no, no, no.
cliche.
It does here, I think, help that he's cut off because it becomes more of a realization rather than a plot convenience in story. Because here it's actually like, oh, there's the army versus line said, and then plot point, the army arrives or comes out of their ambush or whatever.
It's better too because it's not even an ambush. They have reason to guard those gates and walls because that's where they are.
Well, yeah, I'm just an example form.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, I know what you mean.
But the Harry Potter one's even worse than that because the army is in front of him when he says that.
Yeah,
yeah,
but he thinks he's
it's
protected by a wall, and
he's protected by magic. I'll give Neville that much. And again, we voted him as an S tier character, so what can I fucking say?
I believe he
he's
ended
a
in B.
unanimous B.
I believe he's a
I have to
B.
state unanimous B.
So our final video has him as a B. And if you're like,
uh,
what? How does that happen? I
I
guess you
didn't
should
agree to
watch the
that still,
video.
and I still don't vote.
Individuals are individual to our own, but group consensus.
Group that does this. That's a solid B, baby. Boom. Good job, guys.
Solid's an
We worked for
adjective
it.
I would not use.
Now, group consensus was A, but you moved it to a B. There's a difference.
I had him at a C. All right, well, again, a little off topic here.
yeah, we are. Um, we can all tell we have trauma and PTSD from that particular stream.
I
Um,
know. How did we land on a
stream.
B? Ridiculous.
Uh, so, uh, I have so the goodness about the first movie is that they're pretty hands off with the kung fu as a magic system. Here, it is way more blatant that it's functioning as a magic system in Kung Fu Panda 2. From Shifu's teleporting and like Tigress's sound breaking like hit to propel Poe on the one wheel to catch up to the wolf. Uh there's definitely a lot more instances of magic to name a few. I guess Kung Fu serving as a magic system in this film. Uh is it better or worse?
I don't know because in the first one we had the like paralysis magic ability, and we had
Wishy finger hold.
wishy finger. There we go. It's like there were two examples in my head. Where did it go? Um, I guess that's the primary examples. I mean,
Yeah.
Oogway turns into petals if you count that as magic.
Spirit magic. I
So
don't fucking know.
yeah, so I guess maybe three uses of magic. Well, and we also talked about how Oogway had a different paralysis ability because it was visually done differently. Had a yellow instead of a blue. So
Oh
maybe
yeah, yeah.
four instances of magic in the first one. Um, I think it's pretty equal. I didn't really view Tigress's punch as magic, just a cartoony exaggeration of her strength. But I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I also don't have much of a difference. At least with compared to the first one. Obviously, the biggest issue I take away from this one is the teleporting on Shifu's part is a little more
Oh, I
blatant.
hate that. Yeah.
I hate it. That's obviously I find that particular one a lot worse, but I think overall the film is fine in terms of I guess the consistency on going from a part one to a part two in Magic.
Does that mean Poe will be able to teleport now that he's found peace? Because we kind of have to assume that with Shifu, like he found inner peace after the first movie and he
No,
unlocked the teleport.
no.
Because he would have used the teleport in the first movie if he had it all along.
I don't know. It depends where Poe throws his skill points. You know, he might put it all into the Wishy finger hold and just make it more powerful.
No.
Springs, why with the no?
I don't think inner peace unlocks teleportation. No.
Okay.
I
Do you have
think
an
it's its
alternative
own individual skill.
that we don't see him train with
Yeah.
or acknowledge
Yeah.
his
I mean,
goal
as you said,
towards?
possible weeks have gone by from the traveling of the Valley Peace to Gangon City. I keep saying Gangon. I don't know the whatever. And
on,
Shifu's training for himself in that time could have learned teleportation.
He teleported before Tigress came.
Yeah, when his first scene with Poe, you see him teleport. They make a joke of it, which is why I think it's still funny, but he's already teleporting.
Oh, well then he's
Yeah.
already learned it by that point. Never mind.
Though to keep going with a skills and game analogy, I did think of inner peace being a different class. So you have different subclasses of skills under that, and one of them just happens to be teleporting. But Poe wouldn't be interested, I guess.
Yeah, speaking of inner peace, how do you guys think they handled the message of this one compared to the first one? Because I think they were not nearly as well implemented in this as the first.
I guess if it
First one is
helps,
being okay with your
I was going to ask,
sorry,
what is the message of this one?
inner peace, accepting the past and moving forward with.
To answer your question, first movie.
Okay, why?
I
How,
didn't know
how
what
was
the
it?
message was for this one, and the first one I got it. So first movie.
I mean, Poe
uh,
literally spells it out to
yeah, Poe
to
Poe
Shen
spells
on
the
the
message
boat,
out to you. Yeah, that's
and then the whole inner peace thing. What did you think inner peace meant?
I thought it was a meditation kung fu technique.
You didn't think there was anything more of it?
No, it's just something Shifu does, and it grants him the ability to carry droplets and do cool things. So
How the
Poe's like,
heck
I
do
gotta do
you
that.
read into everything except the obvious? I don't get it.
It's a
Oh,
kung fu
okay,
technique.
no, it's not.
okay,
It's
all
the
right.
message of the film.
That's 100% the message of the film. Um,
To answer your question, Crimson,
yeah,
I appreciate the message more of this second film. If I appreciated it more through subsequent viewings, not due to my first one. For first time viewers, yet the first one's obviously the stronger one. I do think the message of this film improves upon subsequent viewings. That mostly has to do with Shen being a counterbalance to Poe's character. Whereas Tai Lung is a brute force obstacle in Kung Fu Panda 1, he's very much Shifu's villain. And here, Shen is very much Poe's villain. So that's why we have them transposed against each other during the whole traveling sequence flashback, but being in opposite sides of the coin because they are inverse to each other. Without having to do the whole "we're not so different, you and I" bit. Um, so I do find the message of the second film to be powerful upon subsequent viewings. It is very much more. It's more appreciated once you understand the full context of all the characters and stuff like that. But I would say the first one is probably still stronger, just by because it's so much more uh, blatant, I guess, about it.
okay. I was leaning more towards the implementation of the messagings. um,
Well, the only oh, okay. If you're meaning towards implementation, then yeah, first one's better.
okay,
Um, I do think thematically they're about equivalent though, because I think I said Shen being strictly Poe's villain, and it, Shen is the epitome of why inner peace doesn't work for every like it doesn't work for him. He's not going down that path. So that is kind of what helps explain at least the thematic relevance of it in this film.
uh, yeah, I agree. I think the first one was better with its implementation. This one, they just kept beating you over the head with the inner peace stuff to a point where it was just annoying every time Poe brought it up. Because I'm fine with him like training on the boat and stuff, but it's brought up everywhere. I think they overdid it for me personally, anyways. But I agree with you. I think the message is a good one.
Um, yeah, maybe our difference in implementation is maybe our difference in point of view of like I guess what the implementation is. I tie a lot of the implementation to Shen as a character, not necessarily like the the overt script where it keeps coming up. So like him getting frustrated with it on the boat and him it coming up again in conversation. I do start thinking that in of itself can start become overbearing, but I like the thematic implementation of it through Shen as a character functioning as an antagonist for Poe, villain for Poe.
Yes. Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree with that. The yin to the yang, as some would say.
Yeah. Um, I let's see. Where should I jump to? Because I had something and now it's gone.
Your
Uh,
strengths have something.
that's true. Maybe you do. Springs.
Sure, I'll go. The first fight scene in the Valley Piece, I think it was really cool. The different instruments used for each kind of fighting technique being shown, and that each one had a different instrument involved. Now, I I came across fully that it was to the fighting techniques used of the different characters rather than obtained to the characters individually. And I also think it was nicely edited to keep up the rhythm and the beat to the cuts made of that scene.
Uh,
Yeah, with
I
the
agree.
bunny in the background playing music diegetically, and then
One thing I also like about that scene is you see Poe doing the moves he has from his dream sequence in Kung Fu Panda Part 1.
yeah, the kicks of fury or whatever they call he
Yeah,
called them.
Kicks of Fury. I quite like that because it shows that he's there. He's achieved his dream. That's why he's like just a little subtle details of him. Is he in the five or flying down to the village? You see him looking at the the five on either side of him with a big fucking grin on his face.
Yeah.
um, but it's really cool. I like seeing uh, the continuity and the choreography to show how far he's come by echoing what he does in the opening of the first dream sequence in the first film. I quite like it.
Something I found amusing in the beginning here was they were at the forge factory, whatever you want to call it, and Shen's and the head wolf guy, boss wolf, is
It
like,
was
we're out
called
of
Boss
metal,
Wolf.
boss wolf, uh, we're out of metal, and Shen's like, then get more metal or something along those lines, and then you hear the clanking of his claws with his metal talons. Like,
That's an
huh?
issue I have in the whole film.
That the soldiers have metal
Just
on
how much
them,
they
and they
need
got.
metal, and then they visually show you that they don't need it.
Well, you kind of need weapons if you're going to steal metal, so and have an army to conquer. So you kind of have to have the weapons to take the metal.
I think I need you to expound on your issue a little more, Springs, because I
He
can.
wants them to use wood swords.
No, 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 no. They need metal. They go to the Valley Piece to get metal. When they leave, the main wolf or whatever, exits on one piece of metal and knocks three more off the sides, meaning that it's not that important. At the end of the movie, when they chain up the Fierce Five, they're chained up in metal chains, not just bound by something else. The example of the claws already given on Shen, that they're metal. It's like the use of needing metal to make these weapons, they either already have enough or it's not that important to get because they keep getting rid of metal or using it on other things.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
that's not enough for it to be an issue. So Shen's obsession with metal is the same obsession that any conqueror would have with resources. Excess is always better. Um, the wolf knocking off two as he was leaving, he's just trying to escape, and I don't really begrudge him that choice because that was not a choice. It was either he escaped or he got caught by the Furious Five and the Dragon Warrior. In the case of Shen's claws, those are weapons that he keeps on his person, which he needs to defend himself. I'm perfectly fine with that. Same that goes with his army. Um, I'm fine with them being tied up with metal chains because they're kung fu masters. I don't know if rope would be enough to hold them.
yeah, I didn't write the chains down, but I did write the metal box that they put Mantis in.
Oh, you mean uh the action figure mantis?
Well, yeah, that metal cage. I did put that one down.
um, hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have an issue with that. It's weird that they would have one that's mantis sized, I guess.
That was my problem with their restraints, was they had restraints for everybody, even Crane's throat. Uh, yeah, I don't know why they had all those. Um, what
uh,
Sprinks did Ryder sway you
No,
in any
no. The only thing is
measurable?
Shen having weapons of his own. That I guess is fine.
You don't think the soldiers need metal?
For what? Arrow tips?
For armor, they're
For
wearing armor.
they have metal studs on their armor for armor. uh, they have swords for fighting when they're
I think
raiding
I think
villages.
from the get go at the beginning of saying we're out in the first explanation of Shen that we're out of metal with already wearing it, that's okay because they have it on them and they need to get more for other things. So they're not making more armor that we know of throughout the film.
Yeah, they're focusing on trying to build more cannons
Yeah.
and probably ammunition for the cannons as well.
So I think the use of the armor, and it's not like it never gets to the point where Shen goes so psychotic that he starts stripping their armor or tells them to get rid of it to make more. He just gets to the point of like shoot our own guys. But I think the other instances of leaving metal behind um, and using the chains at the end is like there's other things that, and I guess even the mantis box you're saying that they made specifically pre-hand, um, or just kept on hand that they didn't make, thinking that they need it someday.
Uh, when you said leaving metal, you're still referring to the intro bit.
The Valley of Peace fight, yeah,
What could he have done?
tied it up and stay behind.
He
And
was
get
getting
caught.
chased
Get
off.
caught.
Yeah, what do you,
I think it would have been better
he's
sacrifice.
not Shen. He's a henchman. Why would he sacrifice his
He's a
life?
right-handed guy.
What? Why would? We're also assuming he'd get captured instead of killed.
Yeah, I don't
So
know. I don't think the Fierce Five would kill him, or Shifu would
he
kill him.
doesn't know that. He doesn't know who the Furious Five are, which could be a topic of why they don't. But he didn't know who they were. They could have easily killed him. So I'm absolutely fine with him jumping, taking what he can, because he's not strong enough to hold the two he kicked off. He's not one of the gorillas. Which was a nice detail that you could barely see the gorillas in the fog. So that was our first time seeing the gorillas, but not really in the full sense.
Oh yeah, because they were there. They were the heavy lifters because they needed
But
to
they're
get
the
the
ones
metal out of
pulling the
there.
metal up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So I don't think there's anything else Boss Wolf really could have done feasibly. He was petty, kicking the metal off, so the villagers couldn't have it. But who's to say they wouldn't go back to get the metal? Okay. Silence implies to me that I didn't sway you, or you're thinking on it.
I am not swayed. Nope.
Okay. Uh, one of the funny lines that I have earlier is when his Poe's dad, Ping, has kind of rebranded his noodle shop a little bit, and just a throwaway line that I really found funny. Careful, you'll get the mop dirty.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
Yes, you wouldn't want to dirty up the instrument to pick up dirt. Well, let's see. Inconsistency with the power of the cannon. Because we get Master Rido, you know, real tough master. He has this impenetrable attack with his horn. Gets struck down by this cannon.
Impervious
Poe
attack.
survives it. Yeah, and Poe survives it with a pan, uh, or a walk, and Tigress survives it because she doesn't feel pain? Question mark. I hated that. I thought that was stupid. She doesn't have tough skin. She says she doesn't feel anything, but she could still get hurt physically. Not she wouldn't feel it, but she would have
Yeah,
died.
yeah. Tigress would have died. Best fit interpretation for Poe is that uh, it sent him flying instead of killing him because he didn't have like an impervious technique to stand just to stand it against it. I guess, and I don't think that's enough, mind you. Um,
What they should have
and
done was what they did in the first movie, and it bounced off his belly, uh,
um,
just like Tai Lung bounced off his belly. Uh, but it would be a little too cheesy. It'd take away from the
yeah,
scene, but
that would probably be a little
it
too
would
much. Yeah.
connect it to fit the universe we have. So bouncy belly.
I mean, maybe that's what happened because the pan got pushed into his belly, and that's how he lived through it. But
Sprix, do you agree, disagree? These deaths that should have been deaths?
Deaths on Poe?
Poe and Tigris both got shot with the cannon. Poe got protected by a pan, and Tigris took it full on.
Yeah. No, I think Master Rhino's a weakling.
uh, honestly, yeah. If we're gonna put this in the context of the universe, Master Wino is the weakling. I
That's what
guess
I took
compared
away
to
from
them.
it.
Not that they just have the plot armor.
No. Unless they literally just bombarded Master Rhino with like 3 or 4 shots in a row while he was down, which I guess could have done to Tigris or Poe. Because I'm sure if they took 3 or 4, how many shots just over and over, they die. But it's just like a hard cut after Rhino got shot once, and it's to kind of be assumed that he died from that one shot.
We do realize that these are cannons, yes, instruments to kill people. I'm not going to assume he's weak for dying from a cannonball direct hit.
I think
A
seeing that,
cannon that we've seen destroy boats,
I think
destroy itself when Poe throws it back.
I think Poe and Tigris both surviving a shot when Master Rhino, who had a technique of defense, is the one who died, shows that he's more weak than them. Not that they're plot heavy above him.
I think it screams they're plot heavy. Tigris has no reason to survive. And Poe has a pan. I'm like, okay, sure, he's got some armor. Tigris is dead.
I think it would just be
Rhinos
settled if
have
we
tough
saw.
hide.
I think it would have been settled if we saw more of how Rhino actually died,
He stood there and took it to the face,
and then it
and,
cut.
and he died.
It died on impact by one shot. Is what you're going with?
Yeah, because they'd have to reload the cannon, and
Yeah,
he
while
wouldn't
he's
just
down.
let that happen. Oh, and Croc and Ox just stood there in amazement.
I mean, they got
You're
jailed.
making a ridiculous story
They
here.
got jailed. These masters
We
of
have
kung fu who
Not right.
got locked
Not
up.
so
not
much information here.
they okay. All right. First off, Croc and Ox were not jailed at the time of this attack. They were there to stand and fight. So if even if the option that in this scenario where we see more of him surviving, Croc and Ox would have won pretty much the fight for him.
They are not morally defeated yet.
Um, yeah, it's obvious plot armor to me, but
Okay. Sounds like I'm not throwing Sprinks on this one either.
No, if Rhino got shot once and they saw the power of the weapon, and then they
It's
both
a
put up their
cannon!
yeah, and they both put up their hands and surrender. It's like I don't want to get shot. Jail us again.
okay,
I
not okay.
don't know
Not
the
we've
full instance of
You
afterwards
don't
after the
know
cut.
that they surrendered like that.
I don't. I also don't know if Rhino
Why are
died
you
on
assuming
first
that?
hit impact.
It's a oh my god. All right. I'm ready to move on because then
uh all right. Well, Cruiser, do you want to jump somewhere?
sure. The end part where Poe's standing on the remains of a ship uh, that isn't wobbling, which means it's touching the ground, uh, means that's a very shallow harbor, uh, a crazy shallow harbor.
Does inner peace
Yes.
come with balance?
Uh,
Uh,
it's supposed
if it
to.
wobbled, I mean, if it was wobbling and he was maintaining his balance, yeah, but nothing was moving. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Didn't make sense.
Yeah. Funny enough, up until this last watch through of the film, I actually thought that was a small island.
So did I. That's what I wrote, and I scratched it off
Yeah.
once once
It-
he you could
I'm like,
see the
that's
wood planks.
I'm like, that's not a boat, right? And then I leaned close. I'm like, oh god, it is. That's so much worse. It's so much worse. Because the boat moves, so it's not tied to the ground. Like when Poe takes the a direct hit to throw it back, the thing he's standing on does move back with it when he's just before we see the whole like yin and yang thing, and he throws it back at a Shen's ship.
Oh, so so it isn't touching the ground then.
It's presumably it's not touching the ground. He's just on top of it and it's floating,
Okay, so
which
that gets
would
rid of the
help with.
shallow harbor thing.
Yeah, let's get rid of the shallow harbor thing. It helps a little with the whole momentum thing they're trying to do, which I think they do a decent job of. It being within the Kung Fu Panda system, I think there's only one where it would where like the ball would not have kept the momentum uh, properly to destroy something.
Well, it gets into a physics issue then. If this is a floating piece of boat, it should move when he's climbing onto it. It's hard to climb on a floating log or plank in this instance. But it was completely still. It was like an island, like we said.
Um,
Maybe inner peace
so yeah,
doesn't come with a balance; it just comes with like weightlessness.
Yeah, Poe's a weightless guy. I mean, you could
well,
assume that based off how easily tigers can just throw him around.
not decades of training for Tigris. It's just the it's the inner piece. And to be fair, Shifu threw around the Furious Five, so there's not really a consistency on weight issue. Mantis is throwing people around too, so I think he's
Yeah,
the prime example.
him holding the bridge and everything.
Uh, yeah, funny enough, I have one of the. I got to continue my notes from Kung Fu Panda One and add character traits to everybody. Of the Furious Five, the only one that really got the not Tyrus. Tyrus is always an exception to this rule. There is the only one who got like additional character traits to flush them out like better was Viper.
How so?
Um, so we get enough on Vipers to kind of not only is she reining Mantis in, which is what pretty much her main thing in the first film. We get it reinforced that she's the most caring of the group, and we also get she's also the one that shows the most manners to other people, and she is obviously the not she's not the ringleader of the group, but she does that what she does for Mantis, like reining them in, she reins everybody in. So she's the grounding character in the group. Like she's the one that's asking Poe and Tigris not to fight, and also tells Poe to stay down. Which is, like I said, it's not much, but it's something to add onto her list of character traits or expand upon them. She's kind of the caring one of the group.
And then there's Crane, who continues to do nothing.
Yeah, there are only two character traits that are pretty much there in the first film. He's polite and he's willing to talk tough to baddies. Polite is pretty much from the first film, and then talk tough to baddies I added here because when he's getting chained up, he's talking trash, which
Yeah,
is not much.
Like
But
he can heal pretty fast.
my wing. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then he does a cool wind sail move thing.
yeah, the
Wings of
best guess
justice.
the best guess is there has been some time that passed. We don't know how much time passed, but we know time passed.
Yeah, regarding Crane, their whole attempt to go to the temple or tower or whatever, uh, and they were on the top saying there's wolves everywhere. We got to be sneaky, get our way through. I don't know why Crane didn't just fly them all over to
Like
the
one by
tower.
one.
I mean, he's pretty tough. He could probably do them all. But yeah, if we wanted to go that
He
route,
could.
He does carry the five all at once, so
yeah.
yeah, I'm willing to believe he can do them all.
That's
It
something
ain't
I
gonna be
caught.
stealthy though if they do that.
Yeah. At 6 minutes 41 seconds, when after the like snack break chat when they had to go defend the valley, Crane carries Panda away.
Yeah.
And then there's little instances where they're going down the mountain where Crane helps Poe kind of like float down. Doesn't really like fly him, but
He
Yeah,
did a trust fall
yeah.
or
But the
trust jump.
first instance is
Mm.
actually carrying him.
yeah. So I don't have an issue with Crane carrying everybody. They wanted to go to the stealth option, which is why he didn't. That's pretty much my assumption as to why they did chose to do that way.
Well, I don't know what they expected once they would have reached the courtyard, anyways.
Uh, well, up until they're at the courtyard, I assumed their plan was to sneak in somehow, and then obviously they just get chased around the city, and that they end up there.
Yeah,
I definitely don't think that was their plan.
no, no, it was not.
That was stealth mode, huh? Not one of my stronger modes.
Which I mean, the dragon thing is a good idea. The dragon warrior inside a dragon, interesting.
Yeah,
Um, seems
got a little bit video gamey, but I was still amused by it.
yeah. Let's see. Free tofu with purchase, as Pink said,
With
and
purchases.
well, purchases as in
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
together, the collective. Uh, but they had already sat down and purchased food, so I don't know why they were all like, "Aw, you already qualify."
yeah. I have an issue with the fact that everybody did it. I can believe that some of them are just there to gawk at Poe's dragon warriorness.
Mhm.
Really, really good detail. I love is Shen monologuing and wanting everything to be perfect. Uh, that scene is very much it's very important to his character, uh, showing that he's like a bit of a perfectionist, and the when he topples his father's throne and stuff like that. And then I also like the part where this is the same scene, but it's at the end of it, where the soothsayer has showed that Shen's fate hasn't changed, and angers Shen, and it shows he is impulsive, and when he gets angry, and then he starts swinging weapons around, because that's an important character trait they need to set up. Is his
Stop doing that.
his impulsive anger.
Yeah, see, where's his anger on his arm, shoulder, sleeve, whatever the expression is.
His feathers, yeah.
Ugh.
um, so anyway, the reason I like that is because it sets up his willingness to immediately go to a weapon to when he's angry. It's very subtle the way they set up the way he's gonna be responsible for his own death.
Mm. Let's see what I was gonna say. Frank, have you set a point recently? Yes.
You can go if you got something.
Oh, you can go if you got something.
Okay, cool. I'll go. When Shifu finds out news of Master Rhino dying and says the end of Kung Fu is upon him, like to me that was the legends not sharing their techniques, so they don't have like apprentices like the Furious Five to Shifu, and they're just keeping their their form or whatever form of Kung Fu on themselves, and that's what's killing off.
No. I don't. the this is the death of kung fu. Is there's something that can wipe out people who can perform kung fu. I think there's more people that perform kung fu than just those three at the temple and just the Furious Five and Shifu in the Valley of Peace. There's kung fu everywhere, but there's something that's able to wipe it out. Therefore, it's the end of it.
Okay, we saw that two different ways. So you saw it as because of the use of the weapon, it can kill all Kung Fu masters. So anyone who can
Yes.
perform Kung Fu, and by wiping that kills Kung Fu. I
Yes.
saw it as taking away one person's teachings of something, lessons Kung Fu um, moves and skills and whatnot, and that's what's killing it.
Right, we get established in the first movie that they write down this stuff. That they have a library. Tai Lung was the first to study all the scrolls. I forgot how many there were, but
The first
they write
thousand
down,
scrolls of Kung Fu.
yeah, thousand scrolls of kung fu. So it wouldn't get lost. Maybe one or two that he made his own or something. I know, but he probably has that written down somewhere. So I'm
Um,
pretty sure it's not that route.
yeah. It can work both ways. When you don't have elders to teach you properly how to use kung fu, or when you don't have elders to teach you anything in general, you tend to lose traditions and the best way of doing things. That's, you can look at farming. We have a lot of techniques in farming, but if it's not taught to you properly, you're not going to be a good farmer. So there is a level of that in both, I think. So if you are wiping out kung fu masters solely and you lose what they specialize in, you lose that area of expertise and what you can learn from them. So I think both are technically correct. Honestly, I don't not to be lame and not picking a side for this one.
All right. To give a non-lame answer, what is the way you saw it?
um, the sad thing is, I think I've seen it enough times that I just accepted it for the sentence that it was now at this point. Uh, so now I have to think about it
I mean,
a
you
little more
looked at it
deeply.
critically for the pod, so I'm sure you had some
Yeah,
thought towards the line.
my thought towards the line was I guess I would have taken it the literal way in which you did. That it's something that can overcome kung fu and therefore is a threat to it. Because right now, kung fu serves as the magic system that uh, in this universe that we can tell is the basis of which all the heroes do their work. So something that can defeat the heroes via their by circumventing their ability of kung fu, it will eventually lead to the death of it. I think I probably would have gone the more literal route with that.
Yeah, because like if you go to an ant colony and you have like ant spray and you spray them, and then a neighboring ant hill saw it and like, this is the death of ants. We can be wiped out.
It's a very specific example. Very
I was like, it seems very applicable because we could wipe out all ants if we just sprayed all of them, but logistically, that's not going to happen. Shen is not going to canon every single kung fu master in existence.
but
Realistically,
the fact that he has the option to, I guess,
he
is
has the
the
ability to,
yeah.
and
So you're
that
saying the threat of it in of itself could be the end of kung fu.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair way to look at it for sure. And to answer your question, Crimson, this is one line I didn't actually write anything down for. I
Of course.
was like, oh yeah, okay, it's a threat to kung fu. Neat. Then I just kept moving on. So I like the setup for Poe having the Furious Five action figures with him, which allow him to do the whole mantis in a cage thing. That being said, where's his backpack where all those are supposed to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, same question.
Yeah. So there's good. The setup is there. They just kind of botched the payoff of it because his backpack isn't with him. Because if he had his backpack with him, I wouldn't have any issues with this plan of his.
Prison pocket.
Person pocket. Uh, it's a TARDIS pocket. His backpack
Yeah.
is there. You just can't see it. No, he's got the Hermione Granger purse. There we go.
Mhm.
Just a bag of holding.
Yeah, just a bag of holding.
And the credits actually show that Poe's the one that made the figures, and they weren't a product. He custom made them,
Yes, that is very
and
cool. I like that.
that kind of confused me a little bit with the beginning of us seeing the kids with a Poe figure. I'm like, oh, okay, so they added to the figure line that they did of the Furious Five. No, I guess not. These kids or someone they know made them that figure, Or Poe did. You know,
Oh,
I
see,
always
my
saw it
issue.
as merchandise in the
Yeah,
first movie.
see, my issue with this, Crimson, is I know you personally, and you do make figures and statues of things for yourself, even though there are product lines. So I don't know if I could judge this objectively.
Yeah. I
No,
don't.
I get what you mean though, because I mean, Poe might have made them himself because maybe his dad didn't buy them for him. Like his dad, obviously, at least the noodle, at least in the part one. Did I say noodle? That was funny. In part one, it's implied that fully expects Poe to grow up and be an inheritor of the noodle shop. Um, so I don't know if he would have bought necessarily have supported his obsession. So Poe supported himself.
You think Poe made a copy of an official product?
Yeah, could be.
Okay. What do you think,
There's
Spence?
reason. There's reason for that. There's precedence for that in our world, at least. I'm gonna pretend I haven't written a bunch of fan fiction to fill the void.
Absolutely not.
um, all right, Springs. Why don't you jump to a point?
Sure, but to lean on that, where I side, I go with they're all handmade because I never see a cart or vendor selling figures.
Uh, that's okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Well,
The
that's
kids with the Poe figure, do you think Poe made that or someone else?
I'm kind of leaning someone else because Poe's busy being in the Furious Five, like up top. I don't know how much time he had comes down, especially since his dad isn't fully sure like when Poe will be around. There's no schedule. It's just kind of random pop-ins. So,
Yeah,
and all his stuff is
it
probably
wouldn't.
still up in his room unless he's moved it all to the temple. But
I it wouldn't surprise me if there are craftsmen in the Valley of Peace who do make them for commission, or if they wanted to make them for kids. So Poe made his own because he's just that obsessed and that much of a nerd. But there could be someone out there that after Poe saved the valley from Taiwan, where they decided to make figures of him. Like that to me isn't too far fetched.
Seems like an opportunity.
An opportunity.
Mhm.
but yeah,
Yeah,
to go
we can
to
wrap it up.
I don't think Poe had very much consideration of his sleeping teammates when he's out there screaming and hollering on a boat.
Yeah, no, he didn't. That's why Tigress was awake, and that's why everybody else was listening in, to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, it was just him and his thoughts. He didn't really put much thought into the outside world there.
Uh,
So I suppose if you want to frame it that way, he was inconsiderate towards them. And, yeah, I guess he was. I don't know why he stood under the water droplet instead of moving to the side of it if it was bugging him that much.
well, he's trying to like get himself in the mode to do what Shifu did.
Well, yeah, but he, it lands on his head. He's not
Yeah.
going to catch the droplet there.
Do you
That's
think
Well,
you think that's a nod to Chinese water torture?
no,
Okay.
no.
that would be
as someone
awesome.
who's as someone who's read those books, no, it's definitely not.
And this random towel just hit him in the face. It's weird. How blew the wind. No, that's funny.
Oh,
That's a
not
funny connection
waterboarding.
there. No, I know that the dripping on the head thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got it. Um, that's funny.
It's,
I don't think so.
I don't.
Because it seems to be bothering him, and it's
Yeah. Well, it's bothering him because he keeps interrupting his thought.
He
Uh,
keeps failing himself in his inner peace.
yeah. Like he's trying to do what Shifu did in the opening, and to kind of get back to what you were saying, Crimson, it shows them reaching above their head to catch the water droplet. So I don't know if I agree with your statement on that.
Was it going to land on Shifu's head, or was it next to
I
his head?
I thought it was going to land either on his head or very close, but I'm going to be honest, I don't fully remember.
I don't have it up, so I don't know. I didn't. I don't remember it landing close to his head, but All right, guess we're at an impasse on that one.
I guess so. Yeah. Not a huge issue, but
No.
it is a issue. Uh, I do like one of the things I actually do like about the scene, despite Poe not telling the Furious Five uh, like what's wrong. One of the things I do like is the way that it's diegetic. Like the music stops when Tigress like throws down the gauntlet, saying that he's staying there.
Oh, okay, we're back at the prison.
Yes, we're back at the
Okay,
prison.
got lost.
Yeah.
Uh, I liked everyone's reactions to that.
Yeah.
uh,
And also the reactions to her hugging Poe.
yeah, the shockwave she made, the little dust shockwave, good,
She definitely cranks up the
powerful.
intimidation factor, and I like it in the sense of that it became diegetic and it stopped being funny for a bit, you know.
Hmm. Uh, which brings up a point I had an issue with. Don't know if it's objective though, but the part where he deflects the first cannonball and his hands on fire, and then he's like, "Oh, hot, hot," and then puts it out. I never liked that. I think
Oh,
it completely derails the scene and takes away everything.
um,
I, it felt like modern Marvel, where they try to just diffuse serious moments with a joke. It didn't seem necessary here. I think it took away a lot.
yeah, I am in
Interesting.
agreement. I'm in agreement partially, if only because he just decided to. He ran around on a boat and then put it in his mouth instead of sticking it in the water.
In the
And
water.
that's where I side with Ryder. Yeah.
So I think there is room for the joke. I do. Because I then again I love competing tones so long as it doesn't break the overall tone of the story. Uh Example, throwing a dart against the wall here. I love the character Deadpool in his movies, shockingly enough. But those films are also not afraid to take it seriously for a minute. Um so I'm fine with Poe's handing on fire and having the comedic joke. I just think him swallowing it was too much. That's kind of where it crosses into the absurdity for me. Um, if he had like dunked it into water like immediately after, and that was the end of it, when he turned, looked, he saw it fire. We had the reaction, and then we see him quickly dive into the water instead of seeing him like run around in circles for several minutes or like several seconds, trying to put it out because it'd be very obvious where to put it out. I think the joke would still land. Um, and the reason I am actually more okay with the joke being there uh, is because it's helps highlight more the even more so the inversion between Poe and Shen, where Shen is getting like gets the eyebrow twitch kind of thing, being like, I can't believe this is what's beating me.
Well, that's a little bit later when he starts chucking them everywhere.
Yeah,
The first one is utter disbelief of what he just witnessed,
yeah, yeah.
uh, which was good. That's what I think uh, makes the scene lessened by the joke is we get this payoff of the inner piece technique, you know, the technique
As
itself.
effective, yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's been built up this whole movie. I mean, it was introduced right at the beginning, pretty much, and we get this payoff of it. Shen's reaction is really good to it, uh, and then we got to break it off with some humor instead of building it going forward. And then Shen's reaction of "I can't believe this is what's happening" could be the humor. It feels more natural. Uh, I don't know. It didn't seem like the place to me for that. They can just
What if
because they
they?
have humor going
What if
forward.
they? Yeah. What if they moved the joke to like the third cannonball? There's a brief break, and that's when he realizes his hand is on fire. So at that point, you've had the reactions settled in for a little while longer, but you still get to keep the joke to kind of unwind the tension a little bit.
Well, then it would have a timing issue of why are they stopping shooting him just so he can do this bit. I just don't think it's a necessary bit because they do add humor throughout where he's like pointing locking his eyes, going back and forth. Like I'm coming for you. Uh,
Oh yeah, when he's like
has
trying to avoid the
reactions.
this way and that way. Yeah.
Yeah, he does his sidestep jump, so that there is humor interjected. I think this was just too early for the joke for what just happened. The big crescendo bit.
I don't know if I'm on it being. I think I can see an objective issue with the execution of the joke in the sense of like I think he would have just put it out in the river, or the lake or the whatever they're on before. Like I said, it crosses into absurdity to me when he starts running around in circles and then uses his mouth to put it out. That to me is when it crosses over into being too much, and that's fully is what unwinds the tension of the scene and the payoff of the scene. Because I think everything else you wouldn't lose much if you kept his reaction to his hand being on fire and then just immediately putting it out. I think it would have been fine with just that. Uh,
And Spriggs has been silent.
yeah.
Well, yeah, you two were
Any
just going
additions?
back and forth, back and forth. I think it's too much running around with a hand on fire. Just put it in the water.
Okay.
I think him
So you're
catching
kind
that his hand's on fire and going is all the comedy that's needed.
of okay.
Okay, so
Yeah. So
you're
you kind of
you're with Ryder's POV then. It sounds like.
Um, I'm on both because I'm also totally fine with them just getting rid of that joke. Putting that joke in the middle after 3 shots, I think is the worst idea out of them all. I think that ruins the tension of Poe being a badass by taking out all these cannons, showing off cool moves. And
okay.
also
Yeah,
Like I said,
strengthens a humor aspect that he's
I
already
only
doing.
threw it as a suggestion. So
and we're getting to the ground, Ryder. How dare you bring that?
all right, shit, fuck it. I'll help you dig the grave. Give me a gun. I'll shoot it myself.
Oh man. Yes, I did some research because
You
Sprinks
did.
brought it up in the first one, and I wanted to dive a little bit further going into this one because it's a lot more prevalent here. Specifically, the red lights people were using the torches. Sprinks brought it up in the prison in the first
Oh
movie.
yes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that they had red torches, and was wondering how realistic that would be, why they would utilize that instead of normal ones. So I dug into it, and we did answer before in the first one because Sprinks looked it up what red was, and it was either lithium or strontium that would cause a red flame. So I dug into the lithium and strontium's connection to China to see how prevalent it is. So lithium, China has 7% of the world's identified lithium resources. So that sounds like a bit to me. But the more the larger one is strontium. China is the leading producer of strontium, natural strontium. So that they probably have abundance of that back in ancient China, which is why it's red. There you go. They did research potentially.
Huh.
Wonderful.
Interesting. Oh, I mean, it certainly looks cool. So
Well, yeah, the when the boats are pulling up and you're just getting the shots of within people's houses of a red light coming, and then the dragon head shadows of the boats passing by.
yeah.
Good stuff there. Good stuff.
Um, let's see. What do we think about Poe's flashback scene in general? Like when he's with the soothsayer and he does the inner peace thing to kind of get the memories to see it fully
We
anyway.
Springs you first.
Well, I like the flashback of explanation that's showing in like Poe remembering. I don't like that this is his instance of learning inner peace, and he comes out of it panting. It didn't seem to be a calming experience to go through.
Well, it echoes back to what Shifu said on how he achieved inner peace, and that was his tra most traumatic moment of his life being Poe being the Dragon Warrior. So this was Poe's most traumatic point of his life. So it's a connection to Shifu's story.
Um,
I think it would have
I
been
don't.
strengthier if it
Sorry.
was after the realization of all that, then did it. Because now he's at terms of peace, actually having a
Well, I mean,
processing period.
the full thing of is a culmination. Like the processing period happens after it. So when he's done with the technique, it's because he's now remembered everything that he can find peace. So he hasn't the the technique is more of a like at least with the difference between Shifu's is a demonstration of having inner peace. Poe's demonstration of it is the kind of roadway to get to it.
Well, yeah, but are you saying is that going with then he has it to begin with because the water droplets continually moving and flowing on him just as much as it was with Shifu if he's already achieved it at that point?
Well, no, the idea is that he's accepting, letting all the memories overflow him in order for him to achieve it at the end. So, by the time he lets the water droplet go and he's panting, he's achieved it because he's accepted it all. It's like he's letting all these horrible memories overwhelm him so that he can feel them and understand them and therefore comprehend them and then be able to move past them. The point of inner peace is to accept everything that's happened to you and understand it and then move on from it, or part of it at least.
Yeah, because I imagine while because we're seeing it as it's side by side, right? It keeps cutting back and forth to it, and I imagine if we had a reality where he starts it, it's flowing, it's going down his arm, and then the part where he sees a wolf try to jump the mom or whatever, he gets a flinch, and then the water droplet falls. That's definitely within the realm of possibility if he didn't achieve the technique of inner peace, but he's keeping himself level during the flashback memory, whatever, and that's how he attains it by accepting it. And I imagine your biggest issue with it is his coming out of it exhaustion. Yeah,
No, I just for me to accept it, I would see it as not happening in real time, and that it's the movie's usage of intertwining the memory with the flow to do one hand in hand, showing both being achieved of accepting all the memories and learning the inner peace technique.
yeah. I mean that can be what they were trying for.
Because if this instance is real time and showing, then is that demonstrating that when Shifu did it early on, during that whole practice, he was envisioning the time of Poe being chosen as the Dragon Warrior?
Well, I mean, we saw Shifu had already attained inner peace. He
No, no,
doesn't
no,
need
no, no,
that
no,
anymore.
no, not to get to the technique, but by doing the technique itself. Because he said the most traumatic point of his life or whatever is when Poe was announced Dragon Warrior. So when he was demonstrating all that with the droplet on Shifu, was in his mind what we didn't see him reliving that moment of his life.
No,
Okay, then that helps me. Well, I mean, it's not set in stone because we don't see it, but with that thought, then I don't see it as real time event happening with Poe learning it. And that is
yeah,
just
that
an instance of like all those memories could have hit him at once, but to show it to the audience, to us, it had to show all that was happening over time, and it was just intermixed with him learning the technique or getting the technique down.
yeah. I mean that fits within the movie to frame it that way. Nothing contradicts that. My bit with the flashbacks, since Ryder asked it in the beginning here, was I found it lazy. It's something that happens in a lot of movies and shows where, like, all right, remember this thing, and then the person remembers it who couldn't remember it the entire movie or show. It's like, all right, do it. Oh, I got it. I remember now. Let it happen. Poof, it's there. That's something that always bugs me, and they do it here, where Poe is struggling to remember or trying to push it aside this whole movie, and then on command can get it to surface, and I just see that as lazy.
Well, I mean, the idea is that he's repressed the memories. And even then, up until the soothsayer says that he needs to let it flow, he's still fighting the memories to coming and overtaking him because he has anxiety with regards to them. So I don't know if it's uh,
Right, it's the on command part that's bugging me. If they did, like, they hypnotized him because they do that in other stuff too, to resurface the memories, that's fine. That's a good workaround, to make it more believable. But just like let it go, let the memories come forward. It's like, so someone could have just told him that half an hour ago and he could do it. And it's once it becomes a line, just do it. Uh, it takes it away from me.
Crimson, I'm kind of on your side here with that of just doing it. I think what would have helped is if he actually had one of the feathers of Shen, like still on him or something, or the soothsayer had one to trigger that PTSD that he's been going through to get an image to help unlock that rather than just being told. Because
Yeah,
that's what we've seen
image
of the image.
association.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
that seems to be what's happened twice now in the film. So doing it without anything on hand, I guess, shows strength in him, but also with what you're saying, which does seem a bit lame.
I guess
if
they try to
I
do that with the stuffed panda, but that's just for the beginning bit of the memory, but and then it kinda just cuts off there.
yeah I think all right. I've kind of settled on where I am on this. I'm in agreement. I think being triggered into it would be better, and he just lets it overtake him. So having a uh, Shen's feather or something more than the doll that triggered the beginning of it, I think would be a good way to kind of lead into it. Um, because I was thinking about examples of where just do it has been good, and bad. I was thinking about other examples. Um, the first one that came to mind is not a good example. It was the first film that we covered on the podcast. It was Doctor Strange, where America just got her ability to learn the powers because Doctor Strange said so.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm trying to think of, and that's the first one that came to mind, and that's also obviously really really bad. I'm trying to think of, I haven't thought of a good one yet since the conversation started, but I'm in agreement. I think that while that can work as a tool, depending on whatever world you're in, I think it would be strengthened to have Poe triggered into it because those are means that which you've already have seen him undergo throughout the course of the film.
Yeah. They set a precedence with the visual the visual triggering. There we go.
Yeah.
But the actual content of the flashback slash memory, um, I think it does a good job. It's swapping to the 3D visuals to, I guess, signify his clarity of the moment there.
Oh, with his
Uh,
mom saying
yeah,
goodbye.
yeah, I think that was a good choice to do that. Even though I did like the 2D art style more, I think I'd rather have a 2D Kung Fu Panda movie. Seeing all the times they use 2D animation in this, we get it in here, we get it in the first one. I think it looks better, but that's personal choice on that one.
I'm in agreement. I would love to see what it would look like. But I do like the transition of animation usage to kind of signify Poe's sudden clarity. Spriggs, do you have any thoughts, or would you like to jump somewhere else?
I can jump somewhere else. when they enter the temple after being captured, um, and there's kind of like a little bridge in the entrance, and then they stop when Poe like gets his foot, and I guess where the cannon fired, and Master Rhino's staff is there. They would have seen it upon going over that bridge because Poe's looking forward to avoid eye contact with Tigress.
Yeah, and not a disagreement.
You mean the hammer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm in agreement. They would have seen that. There's the movies do that a lot. I wrote down in my I wrote down in my notes. I'm like, and the movie does not exist out of frame for this scene.
Yeah. That's why it involved the bridge because the level change of that. I mean, I don't know how much that's keeping it out of eye level or unidentifiable from how far they are. So once they go over that, being that they're actually pretty up close, there's like one guard in front of them, and everything else is behind them.
Yeah,
Which I don't know if that's a
and
great
especially
technique
since
for
the ground.
prisoners.
Yeah, and especially since the ground has like a big scar across it up to the hammer, so they would have stabbed. They would have seen that too.
Yeah.
Um, I do like the. It is a subversion of the gorilla carrying up Poe the last few flights of stairs.
Yeah.
That was I found that I still find that funny today. Um, but it's a subversion I enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a good visual joke. Shen's reactions and the future seer. I could what
Even the soothsayer is like, what?
soothsayer. Yeah, because she was picturing something else than Poe, as she states. She was expecting an actual warrior. Uh, well, he is a warrior, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then a joke that I also found amusing was the cooking noodles in the stomach, because that's totally a Poe thing.
Is this plan going to go as well as your plan to cook noodles in your stomach?
Yeah,
Was it
By
noodles or
drinking boiling
rice?
water.
it was
I think it
noodles.
was noodles.
Noodles? Okay.
Yeah. It would be more quote unquote. It's not. There wouldn't be anything wrong with it being rice, but it's more in Poe to do noodles.
Well, he has had the noodle dream.
Yes, that's true. He has had the noodle drip.
Well, I guess on line of jokes for my first time watching this, there was only one joke that made me audibly laugh. That I thought was pretty funny. Of Mantis at the end explaining that he wants to find someone and settle down and get his head eaten.
Get his head eaten.
Okay,
That's
that Sprinks told me yesterday that there was like an adult joke in here that got him, and I watched it. And I couldn't find it. I didn't know.
That's
that
yeah,
that was the joke.
was
yeah.
the adult joke, I guess. Is
You
that an
guys,
adult joke?
you guys are thinking about the wrong head.
No, 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 I'm not, and I'm not taking it the wrong way. I'm just surprised that's the joke that got you.
Yeah,
I can never predict what jokes make you laugh, Springs. That's why I shy away from trying to show you comedy movies these days.
Meanwhile, I don't shy away. What was this?
Yeah, you're right. I was there for Stand Against Evil. That worked out really well.
No, no.
But
That's
Ryder.
Cooper Death at a
The
Funeral.
last I think real funny movie you showed me was Top Secret.
I
I don't
don't
know
even
how long
remember
ago
you
that was.
laughing a lot during that though. I don't think so anyway.
Well,
But
that's yeah.
yeah, I do
Uh,
agree that that was the last comedy focused movie that I tried to show you, excluding our revisit to Shrek recently.
um, what was I saying? Okay. So yeah, you said like an adult centered joke. Was you saw this as like an adult centered joke?
Yeah, it's both educational because praying mantises eat their spouses, but also it's getting his dick sucked. And I'm like, that's hilarious.
What?
Eating his head after settling down with someone.
Yeah.
Literally, I guess.
Well, that's what mantises
You have a
do.
more you had a
I
more adult joke in your head than we did. I'm telling you right now, Springs.
I don't think that was the joke.
I never took it that way, but you know what? Now that that's there, Sure, I could definitely see that being an adult joke.
I don't know,
Alright.
it's
Uh,
sidelined me so hard in this animated kids movie, DreamWorks movie, that I'm just like, "That was really funny."
I mean, this is the same group that well, this is the same company that works on Shrek, or the producer or
Yeah.
whatever, DreamWorks. So they're not. They are one to make those jokes. It's just given the tone of Kung Fu Panda, I don't think that is the
I mean,
that was
hey,
their intent.
they got the word jackass in Shrek. Like, there's
It's true.
some words in there.
Farquaad.
And, well, the Farquaad joke, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So, uh, yeah,
um,
I don't think that's the intention of their joke, but I'm happy you saw it.
Yeah.
Therefore, you laughed.
And there's
you
also
got
the
you got
visual
joy
one.
out of it.
There's the visual one of Poe standing up with the watermelons right in front of him.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's more
that's
of a
uh,
true.
visual adult joke.
yeah, and him. I actually quite like that scene as well. It shows him like he being flirty to get through one of the wolves, feigning it anyway.
Mm.
His stealth scene was pretty funny, even though it's very horrible in terms of plot.
Mhm. How do you mean?
uh, the five would know if he's what he's not following.
How do we lose a guy that big?
Yeah.
And Poe would have seen them take the rooftop, so he would have followed them. He has no reason not to. Like I said, I think that stuff like that, I think really speak to him still trying to get a hold on everything. One of the things I do like is him shouting out all the names of the combos and the moves when he needs help and stuff they need to do together as a group. Because for me, I think it works both ways in the sense of like, yeah, they're still a new team, so it works in the sense to help him remember the moves that he's trying to do, and it also helps give call out to the five who still are trying to fit him into their group work, to their teamwork. So
Yeah.
I actually quite enjoy the fact that he's calling out like the names of moves and combos that they need to do.
The one move
Yeah,
I wrote
that's
down
Martha Crane.
that I thought was actually pretty darn cool was Viper's Puppet of Death.
It's a good move.
It is a very cool move.
I couldn't tell though because it was so quick if the guy was conscious or not when she was doing
I don't
it.
know.
I don't. I'm gonna
It
assume it
doesn't
was he
matter.
was conscious. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, it could be like imagine if this was like a serious movie and he's actually killing his friends while he's awake.
Oh man, he would be screaming at the top of his lungs.
That would
That's
be horrible.
that's the rated R version of this movie right there.
He was
Why are you
unconscious.
making me do
There we
this?
go. He was unconscious.
Yeah, just
Just
crying.
kill me already.
Um,
Uh,
a little note I actually really like for Shen. Shen isn't the one of the things that really bugs me about showing the villain killing his subordinates is it's just there to show that he's a villain. I like that when Shen is finally pushed to kill one of his subordinates, it's because he's been pushed to desperation. It's not something he immediately jumps to because that's something that. But that's funny enough. That's a cliche that bugs the fuck out of me all the time when it's unsupported. Like they just did this to communicate to the audience that he's a villain.
yeah, it's either they just kill the henchman's like that's it, or the henchman's insubordinate once he's like, all right, you're dead. Here, Destiny's at his doorstep. The warrior of black and white is right in front of him, coming
Yeah,
towards him. He's at
yeah,
desperation levels.
yeah.
So yeah,
He is very much pushed to this point to actually need to very Wolf Boss, and I like that Wolf Boss refuses. Like he's not gonna kill indiscriminately his own men. So it's a very good quick characterization for both of them that I like. It's a very small character moment that I think elevates the both of them.
it is something that I wish could be better though, because I feel like
With the Wolf Boss, you
we
mean?
yeah, with Wolf Boss, we
Yeah.
needed to see why the wolves in general is the last note I wrote in my book was why are the wolves loyal to Shen? We never get an answer to that. We just have Shen gets banished, and now he has the wolves kill the pandas with him. We don't get anything. It'd be good if they establish that so
Yeah,
Uh, that'd be nice.
my best guess is that they were a mercenary army that Shen contracted to help him kill all the pandas, and that he just kept them under his employ. Um, but we have
Could be,
nothing
don't
for that.
know.
So
Yeah,
yeah, we have nothing
they
for
could be
that.
childhood friends. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I do wish as well that we could see why the wolves are loyal to him, and Wolf Boss too, because the while I think Shen being point to push the desperation to kill Wolf Boss is a great point for Shen. I think Wolf Bosses would have been so much stronger if we knew like why Wolf Boss was loyal to Shen for so long and why he's loyal to his own men. Though that can obviously just be inferred. I'd rather get more on why he was loyal to Shen for so long and why this was the breaking point for him.
Yeah, definitely would have elevated uh, the movie. I think in general, because he's kind of just a goofball henchman throughout this. But he could have been more. Unless Brinks thinks, nah, this is great. Leave it the way
Well,
it
it's not
is.
great, but it's fine.
Okay.
What I don't think is fine is when they're leaving the temple and the buildings come down and they're on the right side and there's like I guess four. We can only see three, but I'm guessing there's four walls of archers around the building, around the tower. And when they exit, we see the first line of archers shooting at them. But then we also know that there's when Poe looks over the city that there's a line of archers at the front walls, and in the instance where they're being shot at with arrows, the front walls aren't shooting them. So they're only being attacked from one side they can defend and run back in versus being shot from every direction.
Yeah, the devil's
I
advocate for that is now they're in like the um, peasant area or whatever, the actual village, and they might be more worried about casualties with that.
But they're shooting at the tower, not the city.
yeah, but okay. I
You're talking about the pincer mechanic here, yeah?
Yeah.
When they jumped over the wall.
No, they're still at the tower. Tower's like about to fall before they start running up it.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood what you were saying.
um I think you've lost me, to be honest. I'm trying to picture the scene in my head. Aren't they only shooting at them from the front gate or the front side of the wall?
From the So Shen leaves and goes to his own little temple thing,
Oh,
which is kind of in
yeah.
the if I don't know, looking out from the front of the tower. If that's north, he's in the northwest kind of corner. The west wall is what shoots them when they exit through the side and they go back in, but the north wall is not identifying them or shooting them to pincer in any way.
Were they stationed at the north wall at the time? Or when you say the north wall was with the front area, right?
Yeah, because Poe looks towards the city, and from his point of view, I think we see you can see the wall lined up with archers.
Oh yeah, that's the wall they jump over, yeah?
Oh,
They
okay.
jump
By the
over the
end.
east wall, I guess, in this instance.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm gonna let that as if I'm confused about the geography. Um, I don't know if I have an issue with them not being shot at from all directions. But I might if I guess if I could remember correctly.
I'll say sure. I imagine there's more than what we just saw. So
Yeah. As
say
I
yeah.
said, the only wall I don't know is the wall behind the tower.
Yeah. Um, I mean, if if more than one side of the wall is manned fully, then I probably have an issue with it. If it's one side of the wall being manned at a time, I don't know. I will have an issue with it. I don't think I will, as they
No,
say.
no, three of them can be seen. The first instance is the one that's shooting at them before they run up the tower. The north side, or what I'm saying, the front, is not doing anything. And then when the tower's falling over, which I'm saying is east, they're shooting up at them as they jump over and the tower falls.
Okay.
All right. And
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I would imagine.
You got a point?
Yeah, sure. I can go. I just had a point in my notes. Where did it go? It
Oh no.
is All right, that's fine. Um, oh, there it is. All right, the montage, the happy moments montage, the one we've talked about before. It's been a while.
Oh
Where
yeah, it comes up every now and again because it's something that usually gets to us.
yeah, it's been a point where if you're going to get an emotion out of me in a movie, it's usually a montage like this. This one didn't do it for me. Then I was curious if it got either of you guys
I
feeling
needed
anything.
more descriptions on what montage you're talking about.
When he says it's when the soothsayer says it's not it's who you define who you are or something to that effect. And we get a montage of him coming out of the radish and then growing up, going through the first events of the first film, and up to this
Oh,
Furious
point.
5, his
gotcha.
happy moments
Yeah, yeah,
montage.
gotcha. Okay, got it.
Yeah, because like I said, those are the usual ones that get me. That's the one that gets me in Order of the Phoenix and some other stuff.
That gets you
Didn't know
just
if you guys
emotional in any way?
getting feelings. I didn't really feel anything
Oh,
from that.
I got a feeling. Yeah.
You had a feeling?
Yeah. I got woohoo, first movie.
I mean, more of an
Uh,
emotional feeling.
I know, but
I'm sure you existed
I
watching.
got happiness. Woohoo, first movie. There's the finger hold. Oh wow, he's fighting Woo. That's what I got.
References, callbacks, visuals,
um,
overloaded.
and I've seen this enough to where I'm probably numb to it, but yeah, I still like it. It still works like at a I was gonna say clinical is not the right word, but at a like base level, it does everything okay, pretty much. I don't know what more I would have wanted them to do for it. Um,
Mm,
though, from my point of view, there was less. This is gonna sound really weird. I think Belle's montage has more time with the character supporting it than I think this one does. Funny enough, because the Kung Fu Panda movies are very very short, and I think from here we're still like we've only had an hour of the second film, and then the first film in its entirety. So that puts it about 2.5 hours of just time with the character. And my thing with montages is usually the amount of time I spent with the character overall does matter when you're doing a montage like that. Uh, Spoilers for House 13. There was a
mm,
montage at the end of the show that was really emotional for me as a fan of the show because at that point I had spent many, many hours with these characters. So I suppose
yeah,
my emotional enjoyment is dependent upon how much time I spent with the characters. And
good
I
example.
think,
Good montage.
yeah. So this works very clinically for me. I think it does an objectively good job of making callbacks appropriately. It works contextually with the characters. I don't think it subjectively lands with me as much as it used to because I've seen the movie enough times to where it doesn't bother me or it doesn't make me super emotional. Um, I don't think I have any objective issues with it, but I don't think I am particularly emotional towards this montage gathering that I would be towards others.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything objectively flawed with it. I think there's more than just time with characters as well. It's the value of the
Yeah.
time we
Oh
have
yeah.
with
It's
them.
absolutely
Because
it's the value of the time for
the
sure.
Furious 5 here, well, let's say Furious 4. We'll exclude Tigers for the example I'm about to do. If we took all of their time before across both these movies, there'd be like 10 minutes of talking, if that. If I'm being generous with that, I feel.
That 10 minutes is the upper end of a guesswork, but yes, yeah,
Yes, that is not a lot for the span of two movies for four uh, important air quote characters.
yeah.
It's
It could be
I
tied to the reason there are
phenomenal.
periods here. Obviously, would be tied to Poe's living the dream as he's with them.
Yeah,
Like he obviously very much enjoys being the Dragon Warrior in his time. So it's not like they wouldn't be here. I think it would just be more emotional if we had spent time with Poe and them.
you'll get more of that in the Kung Fu Panda TV show.
Whoopee.
All right.
Let's see. Yeah, Spriggs, why don't you jump to a point?
Okay. There was a weird joke that didn't really make a full lot of sense of, I guess, writer, this could be onto you the writing use of the reason why towards it, but um when Shen and the Wolf Boss are like talking,
It's the
and
map.
it's no, and he says it's the year
Oh,
of
The Year
Peacock,
of the Peacock.
and he
oh
goes,
yeah,
"Oh,
that's
it's
right.
half, it's half a year. It doesn't make sense." And he goes, "Oh, no, year of the Happy New Year, sir." It's like, okay, get it. And then later, Monkey says, "Here's your New Year's gift," and I'm like, did Monkey overhear the New Year's thing? Like, what is the
Um,
connectional use of Monkey then using a line like that?
yes, I wrote that down. It's an issue because Monkey would not have heard the conversation at all.
Yeah, so the connection of it
It's
doesn't make
it's definitely
sense.
a meta. It's definitely for the meta. Like, yeah, it makes sense to us as an audience because we've been watching the film, but it does not work in universe.
Yeah, but even if it's not, he did overheard and he just said it as like, "Oh, here's your New Year's gift," like just a line to just say that has no connection to it. To us, the audience, with both those lines, it just doesn't. It's weird, or at least for
When
me,
does
it
Mickey say
was.
that?
When was it? They throw the barrels in when they
Yeah,
sneak
throw
in.
all the black powder barrels in there to kind of destroy. They want to bring the factory down on top of Shen.
I wrote something else for that scene. Okay. I somehow didn't hear that line, so I guess I'll agree.
Yeah, the line is there. I wrote down notes for it. I'm I don't know if it's a weird line in of itself. If Monkey had overheard the conversation, I think it would work far better.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
But I'm
but
not saying
obviously,
it's not. It's not to. I don't think it's to play that he did overhear when obviously he didn't. I think it's more of it was written in on two separate reasonings.
You're bringing up like um, incidental association with the
Yeah,
audience. Yeah, you have two different New Year's connections that aren't connected, but because they're both brought up, it's implied connection. There we go.
yeah,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's an definitely there is an implied connection because the joke is there for the audience. I don't think it works in universe.
no, 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 not at all.
Yeah, so I guess I'm in agreement with that one, Springs overall, because the yeah, it's weird that the those are it's weird they didn't lay any groundwork for those lines being connected because even if
I mean, it could
you
be
know
easily
they
fixed.
overheard
Could have been like
yeah
"Happy Birthday" or something else.
yeah or they could hear wolves over like when they're sneaking in they could hear wolves having a conversation about it being the year of the peacock as declared by Lord Shen like they could hear that and then Monkey could just play off the joke that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work too.
Uh, one of the things funny enough, on this joke before, because I know you said you wanted something to say about that scene, Crimson. Uh, one of the funnier scenes, at least related to the joke for me, was Wolf Boss talking to himself about his conversation with Shen when Poe sneaking in. He was like, "Great job! You had to say it. That was stupid. Your conversation." I found that a little bit funny.
The mumbling to himself.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's amusing. Yeah, but the joke of the Year of the Peacock stuff, never liked it. First time seeing it, whenever wherever I did, to now, it just feels so shoehorned. It did not feel natural. It's painful to watch
yeah. There's something
because
else. If they wanted to
something's
crank
off.
up, yeah, if they wanted to crank up Shen's intimidation factor and have Wolf Boss be a little bit intimidated by him, you could have still done that without having to make like have him say something overtly stupid. Because Wolf Boss comes across to me as somewhat intelligent, so that to me is almost tone deaf for him.
I think that's the best way to describe it is tone deaf. Yeah, it, and I think it goes on too long as well. It's the back and forth is too much.
Yeah, it goes on a
Get
little too
get rid of it.
long. It goes on a little too long. I don't know if Wolf Boss is the right person to say that joke, and uh, I think
Or
Shen's
maybe
reaction
have
to it
one of
is
the
fine.
gorillas do it or something.
Yeah, I think one of the gorillas doing it would make it better. Because Shen's already abusive to the gorillas anyway. Like he hits one when they miss, when they fail to kill the five with the cannons.
Yeah. Move it to the left. But it's heavy, boss. Move it to the left.
Yeah, exactly. They're already set up to be that precedent. So, all right. You said you had stuff to talk about for the barrel scene, sir.
Yes, the line I wrote down for that was return to sender, and then they had to return it. But I kept calling back to that in my notes. I have it written down a couple times past this scene
Oh, when
of
the cannibals are being returned to senders. Yeah.
yeah, those again return back to senders. Poe giving Tigress a hug, returned back to sender. Uh, I don't know. I just kept bringing it back when they had callbacks.
We all have funny things in our notes sometimes. Nice.
Uh,
uh,
we
so, what do we think of?
do nothing.
Yeah. What do we think of Poe trying to convince Ox and Croc to come fight with him?
I don't like Ox and Croc. The
Cool. Incorporate that into your what you think of the scene.
yeah, I know it's so we've seen a few kung fu masters at this point across the two movies, and they're all very into it. They're very passionate with kung fu. Even Tai Lung, as a bad guy, very passionate about it, and they're all in. But no one really gives up on kung fu. Even Shifu didn't give up on kung fu; he just gave up on Po. But just seeing these two immediately give up and are so adamantly giving up. It's not passive. It didn't just happen like, oh man, what are we going to do now? They've thought about it. This is their choice, and it's I don't know, especially with their flip at the end where like your friend's very persuasive. I'm like, oh, okay. I
Yeah.
think we actually needed to see that based off of how adamant you guys were to stay behind.
Yeah, there was a line, before I ask you for your thoughts, Springs, there was a line that comes from them where they talk about they were afraid Shen had threatened to turn the weapons on the city,
On
which
the
is why they
city.
gave themselves up.
Yeah.
That being said, I what I do like about the scene is the gimmicky the fight. They're like the fight without fighting, pretty much.
Yeah. The door
Um,
fight was that was well done.
yeah, I like it. It was well done, and it shows off their skill levels without it being overt. Uh, and I'll throw this ball at you, Springs. What do you have to say about the scene?
I think that Ox and Croc could have thought that Rhino was the strongest amongst the three of them, and how easily he was defeated. That it's just a good point for them to give up. I also don't think they had any backup or word would get out or anything because they're trapped. So I think it was just a whole blanket of hopelessness upon them. And even with this, it wasn't a resurgence of like, oh, okay, now we can take it. It was like you don't know your what's the right word? Just neglectant, I guess, onto like the machinery and the weapon that Shen has. It's like you're being foolish. We've seen
Ignorant.
it firsthand. Yeah, ignorant. We've seen it firsthand. You know, you're in over your head kind of thing. So they just like continually are like, no, we're gonna stay here, stay safe. It'll protect the city, and that's what they know will protect the city. At least that's what they've been told and going with. So I think all that playing in with what we got is fine. Um, because they also don't know the Furious Five or Poe. They're just a group of people.
Yeah, which went on to a talking point we had in the first one was how well known the Furious Five are. Uh, which seems like it's not really much past the valley.
I also think it's kind of dumb that these two kung fu masters are guarded by two guards on the outside of the prison.
Wasn't there like four guards at the door?
I thought it was just two, and a little barrel came
No,
up and got them.
there were two, and they left because. Oh no! That's when they came back to the prison.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
there were
second.
two that Mantis knocked out.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking about the entrance of the temple, not the jail.
Okay.
Okay, then yes.
Um, I'm actually okay with that because they, like I said, in there, Shen had threatened to turn the weapons on the city. I think that's enough to keep him there.
And they can
Um,
clearly get out whenever they want.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
obviously. So I think leaving two guards there is fine, all things considered, because things are moving pretty fast. I don't. Shen clearly doesn't have any intention to stay in the city for long, um, and obviously the threat of destroying the city would be enough to keep them there. I think. So I'm fine with them having. I don't know if I would be a fully blanket of defeatistness that they have that I would want from them. But I think it's fitting considering they have their hands are tied. They can't do anything because they're either scared of the weapon, or they can't do anything because Shen could just destroy the city. Um, that being said, I do have an issue of how easily they turn towards come up at the end.
Yeah, by a line.
Yeah,
He's
your friend.
persuasive.
Yeah, which could work. I mean, I if anyone could do it, I believe Shifu could. I think I would have like you. I would have preferred to at least see some of part of that conversation.
I think if it was in line, and sorry if I'm making this connection that is not appropriate, but if it was like Infinity War, where Hulk is telling the Ancient One, it's like, well, why do you give up the stone so easily? If Poe was like, well, it's unfortunate that Master Shifu spoke so highly of you, and it's like just that, and they're like, Master Shifu, it's like that's someone they actually recognize and know with
Yeah,
to
I
then
figure
do it.
that Shifu would be someone they do know, in the same way they would know Oogway, but I don't know if they would know the Furious Five.
Yeah, so I'm saying like if Poe said Shifu's name, and that's what got their attention.
It would be better. I'd agree with that. Having some actual
uh,
connection, like
yeah,
a
that would be a simple
friendly
fix.
connection.
Without actually having Shifu to be present. I'm not saying he needs
Yeah,
to be present to show, but
I would agree with that. And then they can just slip right back into why they would need to stay there, being that the Shen threatened to turn the weapons on the
yeah,
city, what have
because
you.
I don't even
So,
think Poe or any of the Fierce Five explain who they are. Do they? They just
uh,
say, "Hey, we're here to
We're
take
here to
out Shen."
rescue you,
Yeah,
save the town, whatever.
yeah. Does he say we're? No, no. He says that when they're outside, don't they? He's like,
there's no
we are
mention of
the
Dragon
Dragon Warrior and the
Warrior.
Furious Five.
Fear,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I don't think
he
they
just
mention
fangirls
themselves.
over them. He's like, "Oh wow, you guys are the masters." That's it.
Yeah. All right. I just find it weird how they aren't really known here, but we don't really have any reasons why they would or wouldn't be, I guess. Other than the legend of Tai Lung would probably be spread everywhere.
I guess so.
Everyone
Yeah.
was afraid of him.
Well, Tai Lung was very specific to the Valley of Peace because that's what he was terrorizing, right?
Um,
Trained under
trying to.
Shifu, was then kidnapped, was then
Oh,
jailed. So I don't know how much of his terror actually went anywhere else.
Yeah,
didn't
he
he go on
said
a terror raid before he went for the scroll?
he said he laid waste to the valley,
I
referring to
think it
the Valley
was
of
yeah, I think
Peace.
it was just the city of the Valley Piece.
Hmm. Oh, the blurry area, I suppose. I feel like it would be known, but we don't have anything for
Yeah. He had a couple too many bowls of drunken noodles, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's see. Well, on the topic of Croc and Ox and a little bit of Rhino here, Shen's introduction in the courtyard. Uh, he has a good fight with them, well choreographed. I think that was well executed. Uh, the line that Rhino delivers, I don't think was well executed. Oh, the line was delivered fine. The actor did fine. The line itself wasn't great. The you're no match for our kung fu. I'm like, he just beat two of you. I think he is a match, actually. Not to mention the army he has behind him. I think he doesn't even need the cannon to take over. Um, I don't
One
know.
of the
That
things
just
I, one of
seemed
the things I one of the things I do like
weak
about the
line.
scene is the all of Shen's like knives breaking, and he just calls him a show off.
Yeah, show off. Yeah, I don't know. That line I think needed to be tweaked because it seemed kind of blind to what just happened in the scene.
Mhm.
It's like they wrote it in the script and then they animated it and kept the line because he thoroughly was actually really good. He beat Croc and Ox.
It's such a weird contrast between Master Rhino versus Warden Rhino.
Oh, from
Why are you
from
drawing the
Dwarves. I
connection
love.
here? Is it just because they're rhinos?
Yeah, I'm going between Rhino in movie 1, Rhino in movie 2.
Are you saying all Rhino people look the same?
That's what I'm
Did
hearing.
not say that.
That they're all the same.
Didn't say that.
I'm poking fun at you, Springs. It's okay.
I want the record to show publicly. I didn't say that.
You implied it, but that's okay. We got you. We got you covered. Let's see. A topic I foreshadowed before we filmed to cover, like we have yet to do. Shifu, the
This
man,
time,
the myth, the
Oh, he's
legend.
not a
In
man.
the first one, what
He said the man. He's not a man. Is he a red
was he? A
panda?
woman?
What is he? He's not a red panda.
I said
He's
man, not human. Man being male. What?
he's a dude. What is he though?
Okay,
What animal is he?
he's a red panda.
Is
Yes.
he red? Oh, okay.
Um.
it
Was
Dustin
it a
Hoffman
little
specifically
derailed there?
requested to be a red panda. So that's I think I covered that in the first film.
Yeah, that was
Sorry
one
with
of
my
your
confusion. In a
facts.
world of animals, man seemed to stand out.
Okay. Uh,
Shifu.
yeah. Thoughts on Shifu? Did did they poorly execute his integration in this film? Was he wasted? Potential. He wasn't drunk. Wasted. uh,
Uh,
was he poorly utilized? So many questions.
Sounds like you're very
Which can go first?
subjectively weighted here on this.
Both. There's objective backing to it. Strengths, you go.
I think he was underutilized, but I think everything he was a part of and where we do see him was totally fine and good for him. Like fit.
Okay. Right.
um, I'm on the boat of wasted potential, which is subjective. I don't know if I have any objective issues with his execution in the story. Because I'm running through my head right now what his purpose is. At this point, I think he would trust. He has a lot of trust in the Five and Poe, so he trusts them to figure out the problem, and then he doesn't go there himself until he feels it through the Force or whatever the flow of the universe, and he feels like something's wrong, so he goes himself. Um, I think I'm okay with that. Uh, Underutilized, absolutely. Like I said, that falls under wasted potential for me. I don't know if I have much of an objective issue that it's not really his fault. It's more of like the plot's fault. He can teleport. He just appears at the end.
Okay.
Um,
I'll throw something into the ring then.
okay.
So he himself is the one that said "end of kung fu." Yes. Which would kind of end the piece because uh, Shen. He knew it was Shen, right? Or just Rhino died. I don't remember precisely how much info
Uh,
he has.
he knows that Rhino's dead due to a weapon of some.
Yeah. So some enemy force is threatening kung fu, and getting rid of kung fu would not be good.
Oh, I see
Wouldn't
where you're going with
he
this.
actually go with them? They didn't establish a reason why he didn't. He didn't have to stay at the valley, and that would have been the fix if they gave him a reason to stay. They didn't. They saved him just so he can come back at the end and do the "I'm Shifu, to here to save the day." I think it's damaging to him that he didn't go with them. Even if you're going with the trust angle, this is the end of kung fu. Why wouldn't you go help save kung fu?
I'm not going to push back. That's correct. That's an issue. Um, yeah, if they wanted him to stay, he needed a reason to stay.
What do you think, Sprinks?
I feel like you're being too heavy-handed with the wording. That
That's how
one
they said it.
About one master's death is the cause of whole turmoil of Kung Fu Gone. I don't know if
Okay. Um, I I'm gonna push back a little bit on what you said, Sprinks, because this is contradicting what you said earlier regarding that specific line. Because you interpret it as as you said, the death of one master being leading to a death towards the death of Kung Fu. So that should be more reason to galvanize Shifu to go. It's
Ponder,
not a
ponder.
yeah, it's not an
Well,
easy question that you
no,
presented
it's
with us.
it's
Crimson.
isolated
Mhm.
to the city, not Valley Peace, the other one, where it is. They don't know any other location of like masters being taken out or weapons in other locations, even though we do find out later Shen has so many cannons, it's not just one. Um,
They know. Well, he mentions Shen's name, right?
That's what I was asking. I
in
didn't
the
remember
letter,
if he did.
can't recall.
Yeah, I think he does mention that Lord. He says Lord Shen, so he knows who Lord Shen is, which implies that he knows somewhat about Lord Shen. I don't know how much intricate detail that Shifu would have about Shin's want to conquer all of China. Because if he does this, that makes him choosing to stay worse. Like if he's familiar with Shen's ambitious goals,
I mean, I think the best for Shifu's character, which would make a whole new movie, is to take Poe's place. And Shifu and the Fierce Five go to defend it, and he tells Poe to stay back and defend the valley. And, someone has to look over these people as an excuse to keep Poe safe from Shen, since Shen's killing pandas, which Shifu would know after a decade.
That would be good if Shifu actually knew the death of Shen. Yeah, that would be good. And then Poe
They make a whole new
would
movie,
ignore
but
his orders. Oh, Poe would ignore his orders and be
yeah, and
like,
go out.
yeah. Then that would be a whole fun dynamic between them. That would be good. We don't get that though. Yeah, and I'm going with the end of Kung Fu because that's how they framed it. They
they
phrased
framed
it
it.
that
Yeah,
way. They went with it. They didn't say, "Well, this is the end of Gongmen City, our best ally" or something. They didn't go anything like that. They said end of Kung Fu. So that's the mentality we have to think the characters are thinking. Whether or not uh, Shen's plans were going to actually be conquering the world at this point doesn't matter. That's what Shifu thought. End of Kung Fu. He would have done something about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with what I said. Yeah, Shifu should have taken Poe's place. I don't think leaving the Valley of Peace unattended would be smart in any regard. So someone had to stay behind. And I guess Shifu just made that himself, but Shifu would see himself more powerful than Poe and the importance of it. So yeah, I think Shifu would have taken Poe's place,
Okay.
especially in the protection of
Mm.
Poe too.
Yay! I
I'm.
got something.
Yeah, I'm
Unless,
fine with.
unless Shifu knew about the fortune.
Well, that's assuming a lot.
I know, which is the reason why he sent Poe, because he knows that's the downfall of Shen.
We don't have anything that substantiates
Yeah.
that though.
Yeah, if it was something he said at the end of the film, like during the epilogue, and he said that, yeah, I sent you because of the prophecy or whatever, and I knew you were going to fulfill your destiny, whatever. If that would have been enough, I think, to kind of patch this hole you've ripped open, Crimson. I'm also subscribed to the theory that yes, he would have. I'm fine with him staying in the Valley of Peace because someone should be there to defend the Valley of Peace. My issue is that no one really addresses that. If that was a throwaway line, I think it would have been better to infer that was a reason.
Since
But
this
given
is
this is
already
the end of
after an attack occurred.
yeah, so like, what's to presume that they wouldn't come here next because they know there's a kung fu temple here? You know, so there would be something. I would like something to justify his reason for staying more strongly than what we currently have.
Mhm.
Because the reasoning of him staying in the Valley of Peace could work, but I think I want that explicitly stated. Like why? Like Poe could just ask, "Why aren't you coming? This is the end of kung fu." He's like, "So I need to stay and watch over the valley."
Yeah, I got the 1,000 Kung Fu scrolls here.
Yeah, Shen could come and
No.
burn them for all we know. You know, so there could have been some explanations for that, but the
I
fact
have
that
the
we don't
invisible
give any,
sword to protect. Or trident. Invisible trident.
So there is
Uguay staff.
there is
Yeah.
there is workarounds for the reason. The problem is none of them are here.
No,
and
they didn't provide any.
and while I always am willing to subscribe to a reasonable degree of inference, I think this is on the line for me. Um, I'm not fully swayed that it's out of character for Shifu, but we're definitely starting to trend that way. I think there are reasons that could be inferred, but I don't know if we have enough to infer the specificity of those reasons.
We only have so much information that was spoken verbally.
Yeah. So it's not it's mm, it's not character assassination. I think we are approaching the point of damage, but it's still like not a
I, to me, it's a point of insurance. We don't know.
yeah. It's getting to the I don't want to chop this down to a world building issue. Because when you don't know something about the in world stuff, I tend to chop it as a world building issue. I think it's because Shifu was so integral to the first one that there is now a built up expectation that he's going to be integral to this one somehow. And he is. It's just we need to justify the reason for him staying in the valley more strongly.
He ends up leaving the valley unprotected.
Unprotected.
If we're
Yeah.
going with this, uh,
Which
and he
again, it
doesn't
could
know what's happening. He had a feeling that something happened to Poe, presumably. He got some sort of feeling regarding Poe. He doesn't know the situation with Shin. He doesn't know the plans. He doesn't know anything up to this point. So if his original reason was we don't know what's going on, I need to be here to protect the valley, he still has the same amount of information he did before, except now he feels Poe's in danger. And that's
which would
enough
be
for him to leave.
Well,
yeah, which would drive him enough to leave because at that point, he could be the only person left. But that's something they don't play with.
Yeah.
and I guess that just goes to the thought of Shifu. Does he think that Poe, the Dragon Warrior, is actually more powerful than him? Or maybe powerful is not the right word. More important.
I think again, we don't really get much of Shifu's perspective in the film. He could feel that way towards Poe.
Because it seems Poe's thought of death that hits Shifu is what gets him to leave.
Yeah. I mean, it, do you guys think Poe is the best fighter at the Valley Peace? Do you think he's better than the Five and
No.
Shifu?
No,
I think Tigers
Me
can take
neither.
down Poe.
I think can all of them beat Poe?
I don't know.
I think they all can beat Poe because they've been at it for much longer. But that's not to say that Poe is worthless because Poe is a good fighter. He's just not at their level yet.
Poe would use techniques that they don't know he's capable of, or moves like unknowing moves kind of thing. Like they're like, "Oh, we trained you all we can," and Poe's like, "Well, yeah, there's things that my dad taught me," and he does like noodle mending techniques or something that they're unaware of.
Bit of a stretch. I don't
Very,
know.
very much the wax on, wax off
Yeah,
approach you went there
like that.
first.
I think that's what Poe would do. That's what he did with Tai Lun.
Hey, I mopped the noodle shop forever, and I was bored, so I just played with my mop the whole time. Yeah, it's yeah. I do think he's the worst of them. A lot of his defeating Tai Lung was pretty luck based. Uh, moving on from
I
that
wouldn't
point,
go as far as being luck based, but it would definitely he definitely
a
outlasted
lot
Tai
of it
Lung.
was.
There was
He
convenience.
had more endurance.
There was a fireworks cart.
Well,
There was
convenience would be luck.
the location of yeah.
Yeah.
It was entirely based on it, but there was elements.
There was definitely elements of that. It's
Yeah.
not
So
fully that.
Shifu, I think, would be pretty safe to think he's better. um, I mean, I'm sure in person he would never say that. Like, "Oh, you're the Dragon Warrior, you're the best of us," but deep down he would know.
Not
Like,
after the arc he went on in Kung Fu Panda 1. I think there was a point in Kung Fu Panda 1 where he might have said that he was better, but I don't know. That still seems like out of character for him to gloat. I guess like that.
yeah. But
So
him here, if he had the choice of sending Poe, someone presumably he sees as less skilled than himself, or not, I think he would take the opportunity to go. And I would go with the Sprinks idea of Poe being left behind thing. But we don't get into that. We get him leaving regardless because he had a vibe.
It's such a big stretch if Shifu knows about the prophecy.
We have nothing to infer it.
I
So yeah,
know,
that's quite a stretch.
but we have nothing against it.
Well, that's not how you want to approach things.
Well, no,
No,
I'm
no.
just saying,
When
like, uh,
when
Because
you
we don't know
yeah
if Shifu knows about aliens either. But
yeah
I'm not going to
yeah,
infer he
you got
does
me
because
there.
we
yeah
aren't told he doesn't know
you would
that.
have
So
the closest thing that we could get to him possibly being to infer that Poe is required is the fact that he knows who Lord Shen is. And I don't think that's enough for him to for the audience to infer that he knows it's Poe's destiny with the prophecy to fulfill the prophecy.
'cause even if he heard Lord Shen, the panda butcher, he wouldn't know it's tied to a prophecy. He would just know he's the panda butcher. So yeah, even
Yeah,
if we went with that route.
yeah,
Again, there's just uncertainties, but it does lean more one way than the other.
Uh, I guess those were my objective problems with Shifu. Subjectively, I agree with you guys. Completely underutilized. um,
he's such a great character. I wish there was more of it.
I mean, even when he's finally in the battle, he doesn't do anything.
I mean,
They
I'd
brought
love
um,
him in the.
give
Huh?
me a
he's the one that
scene.
comes up with this. He comes up. He's the one that comes up with the strategy. But again, I think I would prefer them to do some more.
Yeah, but give me a
Yeah,
scene of Gary Oldman and Dustin Hoffman going toe to toe. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome to have.
he was literally just a key.
Yeah, I
He,
would love. Then again, I'm always a fan of great actors playing off of each other, no matter if it's voice acting or like in like
Live action
actual
performance.
live action form. For instance, I love it when great actors play off each other. It's so much fun. So I would love to. For me, I would have loved to see Dustin Hoffman play off of Gary Oldman, and then because I could have that imagination in my head that they were in the booth recording together.
alas, we got nothing.
Alas.
And Shifu
Yeah.
just gets shot by the blast of Tigress's bits that got blown off of her and floated on a plank.
Yeah. Tigress is dead. Very sad. Um,
They all
I do. I think
landed
Shifu's
floating on
only.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Shifu's only contribution to the ending was the cool appearance of Oxen Croc. I'm putting cool in quotes, by the way, Crimson. So don't come at me.
Yeah.
And he's the one that develops a strategy to use the boats to block the way, and it works. And it was going to work until Shen was pushed to the point of desperation. So it's not that he's worthless. I just still would like him to have contributed more.
And let's say we remove him from that final bit, and Poe
That could
could
have been post
easily
step 3. Yeah.
come up with that plan because he is the team strategizer when it comes to combat and stuff. He's always the one shooting out techniques and whatnot,
Yeah.
team
I would have been
attacks.
fine. I would have been
So,
fine if Poe developed the plan as well, in the sense of like that was his step 3.
so yeah, I just felt like they felt obligated to put Shifu in and didn't actually try to integrate him. It was like, all right, we got to throw him in there. Just do it the most lazy way possible and not
Yeah.
satisfying.
I wouldn't. No. Yeah. I'll agree with that. It definitely feels like they didn't know what to do with him, and that's why but he's still there because he has to be.
Yeah.
I definitely get that some of that vibe. I can't commit to it obviously, but I do get the vibe from this. Um, I think. Oh well, I had a thought and now it's gone. Gosh darn, burn it.
Happened a lot
Um,
this episode.
It is.
yeah, it's going around. Spriggs, you got a thought to share?
Sure, let's see which one I get. When Poe infiltrates like the factory and he takes out two wolves and uses them to like communicate to sneak by, and the gorilla catches them, and Poe sneaks through the window. I think that would be an
Wipe
immediate.
that grin off your faces. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh man, these two guys are unconscious. Let's sound an alarm. No. Not even a commotion from outside.
Well, that's when you get into it's a comedic kids movie
Yeah.
level, the suspension of
Yeah. So
disbelief
what?
part of it.
Dumb gorilla?
I would have an issue if Shen didn't fucking figure out he was there really quickly. Like if they were sneaking around for like longer than a few minutes, then that would turn into a large issue for me. The fact that there was no alarm, but it's pretty clear that Shen knows he's there very quickly, so it's less of an issue for me that no alarm was raised.
For me, it was that the fact that Poe played them to be conscious, so speaking, and the gorilla touched both of them and held them. It wasn't like, "What are you two sleeping on the job for?" kind of thing as Poe snuck away.
Well, the gorilla didn't see the talking part. That was for Boss Wolf.
Okay, it still held them.
Yeah, he did do that.
I don't know.
Uh,
I just feel like an alarm or an alert would have been raised.
I would
I
agree on most
agree.
situations.
Yeah, I agree. It would be raised if it went on any longer. Like I said, I don't have an issue with the no alarm being raised because of how quickly Shen figures out Poe's there.
Okay. Nothing I have,
Uh,
which was kind of the geography of the sense, but can be just kind of explained, is how far the city was from Valley of Peace, being the thunderstorm from when Poe gets shot out is the same ongoing thunderstorm of Shifu meditating, and that it's that big of a storm, or that close of those two locations.
it's true. And then the
Um,
third, less likely option: two separate storms at the same time.
uh, I mean, there are separate storms that happen all the time, so I don't
Well,
know. I don't know if I have an issue with that. It's
at the
they
exact
obviously
same time.
the reason they chose to do it is for the aesthetic, right? Things are
Yes,
so dark now.
Yeah,
I don't know if I that makes me suddenly have a geography issue with it.
it's it's a good attention to detail. You spotted there those springs. But it's technically possible to have two different storms. I wouldn't want it to be one mega storm because I feel like these two places are really far apart. Um, but I think that would be damaging if it was the same storm.
the two simultaneously lightning storms at the same time.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, they'd
not
still be bad,
it's not
but it's
as much of a
possible.
reach, but yeah, like I said, I don't have an issue with that. But then again, I spent way too much time studying weather in college, so
Very
Okay.
good observation there.
uh, like I said, I definitely feel the intention of the writers with that, which is that it's the dark mood
Oh, it's
here and
aesthetic.
there at the
Yeah,
same time.
but I think it would have been. I mean, yeah, it could have worked better, I guess, if Shifu was actually in the rain to actually show off more sadness,
Rather than being in the valley, or rather than
or
being
rather
in
than
his
being a
cave.
lightning storm, which is what's happening in the city.
There's usually rain and lightning storms.
No, you just mean that you want Shifu like out of the caves. He was walking somewhere and he's
Well,
walking
no,
in
no,
the
no, no.
rain.
To signify that they're distinctly two different storms,
Oh, I see.
and not
Yeah,
one
there's no.
overarching one connecting both.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, I see. Was there lightning when Poe got shot out? I don't remember there
Yes,
being lightning. Okay, if there was,
there's
that's an
lightning
issue.
in both.
Yeah, if you wanted, I would prefer. It's not an issue. Sorry, I would prefer it as well to be able to distinguish the two different storms. So if you had Shifu's one being the lightning one, and then you didn't have lightning, but you still had thunder for Poe's, I think that might be enough to better distinguish it.
I agree. The tuning fork. I know it's a cartoon, but it's too much for me. It got to Looney Tunes level,
The
and this is
Oh,
point
not Looney
when he sticks
Tunes
the tuning fork around
on the conveyor
Shen's.
on the
belt.
conveyor
And
belt to hold him, that was too much for me.
yeah, he was holding it with one hand, and his body was parallel. It wasn't like angled, so he was really strong right there. The tuning fork, super strong there. It was
Wasn't the
too much.
tuning fork vertical in the conveyor belt?
Yes.
Okay, so what's making it not slip out?
Nothing.
How tight it is pushed in there.
Yeah,
um, so it's absurd.
that
Too
was.
much.
I did think it was
If they,
cool. Poe throwing it at Shen's neck and like embedding, like sticking him in the wall. That was cool.
yeah, that was good. Yeah, I
I would
think
agree.
that if they wanted the similar, I guess, joke of him going under the conveyor belt, if they just had a hooked item, where it hooked in into the conveyor,
Sickle.
therefore makes sense. Sure,
Yeah.
sickle, that's fine. Um,
I mean, it also
that
has to
would
be
actually make
metal
some
to help
sense.
work. So, yeah. What are
Yeah,
those? Um, are they fish? Not a fish hook, but like like you can wrap your whole hand around a wooden bar that has a hook coming out of it.
spear.
It's like a big like Captain hook with like a wooden kind of thing that you can hold your
Oh,
fist around.
not an anchor. It's
All right, cane knife.
Was it the Night Stalker in Assassin's Creed Black Flag uses it as weapon?
Um, or a noob butt in Mortal Kombat. Is it a cane knife or a sugar knife or something?
Oh,
Darn it.
is it a sugar knife? Might be it. That's what I'm thinking anyhow.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't really have much to say on that particular point because I think the tuning fork bit was a little much. Though I again with springs, I like the fact that Shen gets almost stabbed through the neck with it. Um, another thing I do like about Shen is I like at this point he used his feathers to try and trigger Poe because he figured out that it bugs Poe.
yeah. It bugs me how much it bugs Poe. Uh,
Why?
it's
It gets
just,
progressively less
I
intense
mean,
every time it
I
happens.
get it the first time, but going forward, he's aware of it at that point, and it just seems extra.
Well, in this scene in the warehouse, he's preventing it from affecting him. Like he goes through the effort of not letting
Well,
it
it's like
affect
a
him.
blinded light. He's covering his eyes and stuff.
Yeah, only
It's
for a second until he's
it's
looking right at Shen again.
extra.
I think my
I'm not saying it's
favorite
an objective flaw, but
I
it
think my
bugs
favorite
me how
instance of it
extra.
Oh, got it,
is
got
when
it.
they get into the city and he sees it on the wolf's arm, and it's not blinding or like causing a flash or anything, but it is illuminating like a look on the patch to like post perspective kind of thing.
Yeah. Um,
Like that's
it
mild, and I think that's still like something still triggering him about it, without this whole jumpy what do the numbers mean, Jason kind of thing. I said Jason Mason.
um,
I understood the reference, Springs.
yeah,
It's okay.
yeah, that's true. He kind of just got stunned on the first interaction with the wolf, and then it proceeds to be flashbangs.
um,
Um,
let's see. Crimson, you got a point you'd like to jump to?
yeah, I'll go to Shen's demise, his death, his swift
Yeah,
defeat.
good thing to bring. Yeah, okay. Uh huh.
Yeah, we haven't really covered it
Yeah,
much at
yeah,
all.
fair enough.
Yeah, I think the fight was well choreographed. It felt intense. Um, I liked that Poe lost some fur in the encounter. The scar joke actually fit for me, opposed to the fire in the hand one, because you could probably compare them and be like, it still breaks the tension. I couldn't really explain why I feel this one fits better, but I don't know. That one's hard to break down. You guys have an answer for that one? Because it does do the same thing as the fire in the hand. It breaks the tension of the scene.
This was more naturally. This is a joke more naturally found in context, and the other one is more slapstick. They both serve the same
I guess so. The other one is more
intention, but
slapstick.
they have different tones attached to their intention of the joke.
And scars do fade. There you go.
He's like, "Yeah, oh, yeah, you're right. What do scars do? They fade, I guess?"
Like a dead
Yeah,
uncle.
and yeah, a cool scar. Um, and
Or Uncle Ben
I
will never escape.
oh, yeah, not the joke he was going for though. Um, what was I going with? Yes, Ben closing his eyes, accepting his destiny, his death, however you want to portray it. I really liked it because he could have jumped out of the way, he could have done anything, but he just accepted it.
He lost everything at that point, you know?
He's been fighting his destiny this whole time. That's been his character, and he's finally accepted it. He
Yeah.
found peace, inner peace.
Probably, funny enough, right before the end.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how I always read it. Was he
yeah,
achieved inner peace?
whenever a character accepts their death, usually I like they have to earn it. I think Shen is one of those characters that does earn it because of how much he was fighting against it the entire time, and how much even now up to that point it was still ruining him. Because him fighting his own destiny right up until he saw the cannon about to fall on him, his own creation, was him still fighting his destiny. So him seeing like his dying to his own creation in a way was you know a good fitting end for him, and I think he had worked himself into a place to accept it.
Yeah. What do you think of it, Sprinks? His ending.
Uh, did he die? Where's the body?
Yes, this is DreamWorks. Villains die off screen all the time.
I I know
Did Tai Lung die? I
I
don't
couldn't.
know.
Tylon exploded.
We didn't
Um,
see that.
I couldn't tell. It just seemed like the boats were crashing, things were being demolished, and Poe just escapes and Shen's gone. I don't know if Shen escaped. I don't know if Shen's drowned. I don't know if Shen's gone. I couldn't tell. So
Shen got crushed is the implication, and then it exploded after he got crushed to kind of just double down on it. It's actually a very common trope in DreamWorks films with how they kill their villains. They're usually victims of their own demise, some form or fashion, and then
How
they
to
die
Train Your
off.
Dragon,
They,
the giant
yeah,
dragon.
yeah. How to Train Your Dragon 2, the villain died off
That's listening.
screen, but we can presume he died.
okay. I guess lackluster, but I still like that Shen's still fighting, even though pretty much his whole armada is depleted and gone.
It's very much in
So,
his character to do that, yeah.
so you didn't probably like that he just accepted it then?
Accepted what?
His death. In your eyes, he could have just avoided it and kept fighting then.
Well, I didn't know at what point how damaged he is. Like if he's literally hobbling around and he had to go heal or mend, and he'll come back in the later films. Sure, I don't know.
Not what I'm saying. When the shadow of the cannon was about to fall on him and he closed his eyes and accepted his death, he could have left instead of sat there and closed his eyes.
Oh, okay, yeah, he should have left.
And okay, so you don't think he earned this acceptance moment then? You don't think it's part of his character at this point?
No, the fact that he continued to fight Poe after the scar thing, no,
Okay.
I guess the following question is why?
because he still fought for it.
Right. But fighting in of itself doesn't mean uh is not necessarily conducive to him not then accepting his death.
It didn't seem to look like Poe bested him in a way that fulfilled the prophecy, and it was the cannon just falling amidst the fight with Poe on the boat.
Well, correct. But what if we are using the prophecy interpretation that Shen is the warrior of black and white that will bring his demise?
Then that
So
fits.
the
Uh,
wording of prophecies are very important, right? What's the exact word of this prophecy? Because
Uh,
yeah, was it a
even if
warrior or a
a
being
warrior,
of black and white?
a warrior
well,
of
that's
black
what I
and
thought.
white, Shen will be defeated by a warrior of black. I don't know. I don't know the exact wording of the prophecy. I'm gonna look it up. Give me a sec.
Because I mean, the
Okay,
canon he created is what defeated him, not himself.
well, I'm not going with. I'm saying the actions caused by the warrior of black and white could be his demise. Doesn't have to be at the hands of the warrior of black and white. It could
So
be the actions set forth by the
if he
warrior
didn't
of black
fight
and white.
Poe and accepted it then, and just been like, okay, you got me, whatever, and then just gone with it, like it's still a
Well, he
defeat.
would still be emotionally defeated by Poe and just accepting it. So that
Yeah,
would still be an action derived from Poe.
versus an
Okay.
actual
The
physical defeat of death.
Yes.
the exact wording of the prophecy is a peacock is defeated by a warrior of black and white. Nothing has changed. Well, when that's she says at the end.
Right, that's yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, there's definitely many interpretations to take away from it. But
so
obviously it's
yeah,
either
it
Poe or
doesn't have to
Shen.
be directly killed by the warrior of black and white. It could be the actions of the warrior of black and white kills him, which is what happens. He wears him down. So I do think the prophecy is fulfilled, whether or not you think it's Poe or Shen or some other third thing.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I think the prophet's fulfilled. Yeah, I didn't mean to say something to confuse that.
Yeah, no. The what you said, I think that we're trying to dig into Springs was that him accepting his death was out of character for you. Is kind of what you were angling towards. It's like him closing his eyes and just letting himself die.
I came to a realization I haven't thought of. No, that is now fine.
Okay,
Because in his eyes, that's not being defeated by the panda, that's being defeated by the cannon. So that's still like on his last breath, he won.
Yeah, he went out on his own terms. That's it.
Yeah. Rather
sure.
than
I
submitting
can.
to Poe, which would have been the defeat he's been fighting for so long, which is the reason after the Scar thing he continued to fight, I think shows that going out on his own terms mean in his eyes the prophecy was not met, when what we've explained and discussed is that he is that warrior in the prophecy and that his weapon is what killed him because he created it.
Yeah, that's perfectly valid interpretation of it.
Yeah, there's enough
So
there to read into that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like that.
Sorry, one of those instances again where I need more info to get to a realization and not just like a base question.
Well, that's how you get to these
That you ask
resolutions.
base questions to get to the realizations. So you're
You
supposed to.
pick
So
the
they're
brains.
always meant to be starting points, Spring. So don't worry about that. um,
I'm running thin.
yeah, I'm starting to run thin too here. What are you looking at, Springs? How are you looking over there?
Um, I mean, yeah, thin. I got a couple, I think.
All right. Um, I like that Tigress takes the lead of the group when Poe is not of the right mind in the tower. So Tigress is the one that keeps the group together, makes the choices and makes the decisions of how they're going to get out and stuff like that. Showing that she still has some of those ringleader attributes, and it shows that she can act as a leader when needed to. So one of the little
Yeah,
subtle things I like.
Yeah, it does. And that's fine. I do wish, though, the other four members of the Fierce Five had more of a voice.
Yeah,
I
no,
think we can all agree with that.
yeah, we can all agree with that. That's not here to disparage Tigress's characterizations because we even get some hint of towards her backstory with Poe's saying like the hardcore don't understand on the boat before the group all wake up. You see that Tigress is about to talk about something before they're interrupted. So there is a lot of characterization still going on for Tigress on the subtle end of the story that we're undergoing.
But yeah, if we got more of the others, I'm game.
Yeah, like I said, the only one that really got more notes added to them is because I think there is enough for Vipers to be flushed out now, or one of her character traits got more flushed out. So she's the only one that got a bunch of extra notes, or some extra notes, not a bunch, some extra notes. Um,
You could add something for Crane. Uh, Crane's the only one who's like taken in Poe's naming of abilities or attacks. Because Poe's called out all the attacks in this. Crane's the only one I think that said his own attack with the Wings of Justice.
oh, that's true. You could add something
Poe
to that.
didn't tell him Wings of Justice. He did that himself.
Yeah. That's true. I could write that down as a character trait. Poe rubbed off on him. There we go.
Yeah. There
Uh,
you go. So stacked.
so stacked. Such a wondrous thick list of character traits. All right. That was one from me. Why don't you shoot to one, Springs?
Um, well, it was familiar to me finding a woman with a baby running through the woods being chased by two wolves. We've seen that
Willow.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Also,
that.
seeing a shirtless Jack Black character in a sea of water getting shot by cannons. I've seen that before.
Oh, I know what
Gulliver's
you're talking.
Travels.
Yeah, Gulliver's
Yeah,
Travels.
Gulliver's
Yeah,
Travels.
such a weird. Not Jack Black's movie. The original story for that is so weird.
Um, I know it's a humorous thing, but I thought it was actually kind of just lame. Poe thinking this big action plan to save the Furious Five was to throw a hat at a chain, and it failed.
Um,
Uh,
Makes sense for Poe to think that to me.
It makes
uh,
sense, like it could
I mean,
work,
there's alternatives for sure.
but it was a straw paper hat.
yeah, I'll say the joke of Shen not hearing his speech landed more for me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Sprinks, you said you only had like one audible laugh. Were you like smiling though on jokes in this, or were you pretty
uh,
uh, unreactive to anything?
pretty unreactive.
Okay. Okay. Right.
Crimson, you got another point to jump to?
Well, the point I was going to talk about was the hat, and we just did that.
Oh, do you have any more to say about that?
um, Not much more other than I was going to bring up how it felt like it was in character for him to do that. Uh, I don't know if he'd climb the building for all that. He does like to make a spectacle of things, but that's a lot of work for him, considering stairs is a battle for him. Instead of just trying to go down like a side alley and jump on the boat and cut the chain or something.
Mm,
There's certainly more effective ways of freeing the five than that method. But he is a man of spectacle. He's got his dreams.
um, I think one of the lines that I always use is it's like first step, free the five. What's step two? Honestly, guys, I don't think think I'd make it this far. I love using that line in things of just the I didn't think I'd make it this far.
Yeah,
It's one of my jokes that I definitely repeat to people. So I know you both have heard it from me at some point.
yeah, yeah. And it does pop up in a lot of media.
Springs. Any final thoughts?
There were no wolf archers at the end.
Yes, I have that down too. I'm like, man, I look, I get it takes a lot. My notes specifically say I know it takes a lot to move and aim the cannons, but why aren't there any archers shooting at Poe?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
didn't think they would need them. They have cannons.
I, I don't. If they took the
uh,
city, I feel like maybe not all the armada has to be on the boats. Just a wise idea. Maybe some lookouts. Maybe some people on Overwatch and watchtowers or on top of buildings.
actually, Crimson, you've played Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Don't they use
I
archers
have.
in that?
Well, this is an Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This is the Kung Fu Panda 2.
This would
Yeah,
be
this is
Assassin's Creed
this
China.
is 1,000 years later. So,
Well, a different civilization, you know. So,
man, ain't that convenient?
I don't know. It just seemed like they had a lot of archers, and then there's no archers.
Yeah, nah, it's an issue for me that they don't have archers on the boats. It would definitely make their jobs and lives easier to have them, so they would have them. I don't think
it'd
not all of them would need to be archers, but there would definitely be some.
be funny if they had the shot of Poe climbing onto the boat and then just a million arrows hit him at the same time. That'd be funny.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
How it should have ended. There we go.
I also have
So,
during Peen's backstory of finding Poe and explaining like Poe didn't like to wear pants. And throughout the movie until then, I'm like, where's going to be this answer of to why Poe wears pants? Or where did that change? It's never answered.
He grew up.
Yeah, probably. I don't think that needs to be answered. We could just assume he grew up.
That was my
I mean,
last note, is that the pants were not answered.
I don't know if there was a question to answer. I mean, there's a lot of kids growing up that just run around in their underwear, and then as they grow up, they put pants on. He didn't have underwear, so he just skipped a
But
step,
he doesn't
I
wear a
guess.
shirt. So there's
Well,
gotta
that
be.
was the question.
I know, which
The
I
question
feel
was
like is more
pants.
important to the pants. There's a reason why he puts on a pants over shirts. He's not just wearing normal clothes like everyone else. It's just pants. What changed to
Well,
get him into pants?
pants are covering the bits, the man bits.
He could be in
He
his
doesn't want to
undies.
subject. He doesn't want to subject the people. He's a shorts guy.
I think
He's
we're I
commando.
think we're anthropomorphizing them a little too much.
Mm,
I just think the pants line, I thought it would hold more weight to something, and it wasn't.
that,
like
that
what?
that can happen. So
I don't know. Maybe he's like, I wear pants because I can use them as a parasail, or I can use them as this technique, or my dad gave me pants to use pockets, or I don't know.
Okay. Let's see.
all right.
What was my okay? Mine was also going to be a ping point, and this was referring to pretty much the ending and how Poe talks to him. And I really didn't like how Poe was treating Ping this whole movie, and how Poe kept talking about he wanted to know who he was. And once
I
again, I've said it several times in this where they've done this type of thing in other media, and it usually bugs me because the character acts like they never existed up to this point.
Yes. Um, I also have an issue with that I want to ask you, which is my last note. I think
Okay.
because it ties into that. I like Poe's reunion with his father. Yada yada. I don't like what it's built on. My question pertaining to that: is it out of character for Poe to get this character trait out of the blue? He never had to
Who
really.
is he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Quick, easy answer. He did not care in the first movie. They even played a joke about whether or not he was adopted in it, and they kind of did it. Well,
They redid it
it was
here.
a different
Only
thing.
it was true that he was adopted.
Yeah, and the fake out with the and it changed my life forever. I stopped adding radishes to the soup. That was a that
Yeah,
was a
what a
funny
madman.
version. Yeah,
And then I
um,
adopted you. Um,
and I didn't like Poe's reaction to the adoption thing either. I knew it. Why? They I feel like they mishandled it. I
I'm fine with him. I'm fine with Poe suspecting because his dad's a goose. I think that's reason enough to assume that he's not related. But my issue is just Poe's the acquired character trait of him suddenly questioning who he is, and like he didn't suddenly lose his entire life's history. You know,
agreed.
so it was him questioning who he is, and his relationship with his father together was a bit of an issue. Like if
Well,
even if he took it that as his father lied to him, that would be better than what we got. And I would view that as manufactured drama.
well, even with like when he said goodbye to Ping to go to Gongman City, he's like, "You're still my son, right?" Right, and
Yeah, he
Poe
doesn't
leaves him
respond.
unanswered.
Yeah,
What is that?
it's so rude. Uh,
Yeah, it's not well executed whatsoever. It does come out of nowhere,
yeah. And I
which is
mind you, I am
unfortunate.
fine with people questioning their identities. That's a normal thing to do. It wasn't conducive with what we had already established for Poe to suddenly question who he is.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can wonder who you are while still establishing your past of still acknowledging him as your father. You just want to know what else
where you came
your
from.
origin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but they didn't go that route. They wanted this whole Ping drama that they could have gone, like you said,
Poe kind of just accepts it. He doesn't see it as a lie or he's been manipulated. He's just like, "Oh, I knew it. Tell me more. Tell me more."
Yeah.
He was like, "How dare you? This whole time, I hate you."
Spriggs, got any thoughts on that?
It's to the point of egregious kind of thing. Especially in this cartoon where you can clearly see a difference in a goose and a panda. Um, opposed to like a live action movie, it's like, was I adopted? What happened to my parents? Kind of thing. Um, but then again, I'm familiar with SpongeBob, and I don't know Pearl has ever asked Mr. Krabs the difference of where she comes from or her mom. So I just think it's
Well,
something that didn't need to be this whole heavily rude plot convenience thing to his dad.
It would be one thing if, like I said, I think what would it would be manufactured without just the top of my head, but Ping could have lied to Poe about his origins, and that would have been something to create the rift. Because the rift right now is just based off of, yeah, but are you really my dad?
Oh yeah, he went with all
And that by
gooses come
itself
from
is not enough.
eggs.
Yeah,
But I think it could have just been like, where did I come from?
yeah. There
that's all
definitely
it
could have
needed to be.
been more.
Yeah, I don't think it needed to be like, are you my real dad? What did you do to my mom? I don't think that. No,
Yeah, that was
you're still my
unnecessary.
son,
Yeah,
right? And walks away. It's like, come on.
yeah. All right, just wanted to run that by you. That was my last point. So,
Um, Also, at the very end, the mom, the Karen, uh, a very good portrayal of a Karen. Well, when is he going to be here? My son has a birthday. Expecting the Dragon Warrior.
oh right. I was so lost at who you were
Not
talking about. I
Poe's
was trying
mom.
to remember. I was thinking of Poe's mom. I'm
No,
like, I
not
don't
Poe's mom.
remember any of that.
The pig mom.
Yes.
Um,
That swine.
yeah, yeah, that
You're
filthy
all
pig.
bacon. Oh wait, you guys don't know that reference.
It was for the audience.
Yeah, so a good portrayal for. She was kind of stupid because it's common knowledge at this point that the Dragon Warrior is not there.
Yeah, he doesn't work there anymore.
Doesn't work there. It's probably common knowledge that the Furious Five and the Dragon Warrior have left to go
For
somewhere. They might not know
weeks
Gangman
at
City,
a
but
time, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, we don't know the timeline. We know it's more than 3 days because that's how long Shin said uh, till the boating stuff. But we don't know how long the travel was before the 3 day thing. So 3 days is the minimum, but I'm thinking probably a couple weeks. You would know. It's dumb. They did it for the joke, but it had to be pointed out.
I agree. Uh, and is
Yeah.
that all, gentlemen?
Uh, they do the acupuncture callback from the first one.
Like you can make me drink doing.
Uh, I will point out that's a different spot that did that than the first movie.
Yep,
'Cause
I agree.
the first one was point in the back, not in the forehead. But I don't know. I don't do acupuncture. Maybe you have two nerves that can do that.
Uh,
But that would be it for me.
Springs.
That is all the notes I have.
Well then, gentlemen, let us move to ratings.
Very exciting.
I know, I know. Springs, why don't you start us off?
Oh
Even more exciting.
boy, I gotta start. Let's see. Let's start with my subjective. You know what? No, let's start with my objective. Haha.
Let me start with my sinister rating.
Ooh. I'm gonna start with my objective. Um, this movie has amazing animation. Oh my gosh, Shifu grabbing the water droplet looked so good. The fur looked great. The lighting looked great. The all three forms of animation from the beginning leather puppetry part, and even though that's animated to look that way, but then the 2D styling of the flashbacks and then the 3D overall looked great. I really liked it. The music I think was really good done. I know it's partially done by Hans Zimmer, so that's a win. But it was great music.
Yeah, To add a little more onto your music thing, it was done by the Chinese orchestra.
Oh, even better. More authentic. Let's see. Editing, I think, was really good, especially in the montage bits. Really helped flow everything. I really like their traversal to get to the city of cutting between Poe and the Fierce Five to Shen, and then kind of going into a new animation style of like the yin yang look kind of thing. Like that all looked good and flow. Um, the transitional usage of Poe at the end, like using the cannon and the water drops and how it fades and cuts to. I really liked all that. So like I think that was all great. Um, the characters, I like all the characters pretty much. Shen is a bad guy. I think he's really cool. Definitely different from Tai Lun, and stands out. I like the more build we have of Poe with Tigress as a team. I wish there was still more members, but just what they have is great. Peen, I think, is really good. Um, let's see. Uh, the cinematography, there's some good usages of it. Again, very hard for me to tell with animation how much is just storyboard or how much is actually set forth by a director of photography. Um, Writing, I think, is here and there. There's some really good bits and there's some kind of poor made bits to it, which kind of also go with dialogue. I'm not going to go for the voice acting is all great and fits and portrayed well, but the lines that they have and the dialogue that is given, I think, could be strengthened in aspects of it. Also, in parts, were very nicely done. Um, I always forget something. But overall, I have it as like a nice 7.5. I'm a little shocked when I've heard that people say this movie is pretty much on par with the first one. I disagree with that, but I can see it being an element where some find it very close or one being better than the other. For me, I think the first one is better and being made than this one. Um, but this one still has good parts to it. Um, Subjectively, um, I see this as a movie that I'm like, I could watch it again, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch again. I think the first one is a lot more fun, and I like Tylon far more than I do as Shen. I do very much like the work that Gary Oldman does, but Shen as a character, I thought was kind of not one note, but kind of two note kind of guy. It's just like wipe out pandas, and then the cannons are to take out kung fu masters is the next step, and that's kind of it. I guess it was to take back his home, but none of his family's there or anything to go back on his parents, who shunned him. Which could go into the lifespan that Crimson brought up of how long peacocks live, so they could have just died at that point. Um, but yeah, just kind of that. I just kind of Poe kind of just contemplating with this past thing and not believing in his team to just bring out and tell him I didn't like the Masters in their cage of like fighting back. I guess I mean we explained all of it, but it's like in the story to explain. I don't know Shifu. I wish there was more of Shifu. Um, I don't know. It was kind of just eh. But I was debating between two numbers and I'm solidifying one of them because I fear what Kung Fu Panda 3 and Kung Fu Panda 4 could be. So I gave this a 5 subjectively.
All right, so that's a bit different from the first one.
A bit. Crimson. Why don't you go?
All right, I will start with my subjective. I I am one of those people that are like these are pretty close, but to me they're I can bounce, but I think most of the time I would prefer the first over the second, which is why I'm giving it a 7. Uh, it's still very enjoyable. I do like Shen as a bad guy. I like the acceptance of his death. 'Cause that's something I usually like in anything. Is when a character gets to a point where they can just accept their end, whether it be a good or a bad guy, if it's built well, anyways. Uh, it, The annoying parts to me were Shifu. His involvement was not great. And I think Wolf Boss had a lot of potential, and it kind of did take a bit of my enjoyment away seeing the potential he had uh, not being utilized. And overall, it was enjoyable. There was some funny stuff in here. There were some good jokes. Objectively, we uh, collectively thought the first one was pretty flawless. There weren't that many things we pointed out as flaws. Not the case for this one. There were certainly some flaws in here. I talked about the whole fortune teller future seeing stuff, the prophecy, which can be an overarching issue with that type of character in general, but we have a character in this. We critiqued it, and it doesn't add up. She would not give the prophecy if she also foresaw the genocide that would be caused by delivering the prophecy. And if she didn't see the genocide and only saw the warrior in black prophecy, then I'd be, why didn't she see the genocide part of the prophecy? Because that's still tied to Shen's destiny as well, which is what the prophecy is. It's his destiny. So it's just inconsistent with her powers of seeing the future. Uh, we talked about Shifu and what I believe to be an objective flaw with him not going. It can either be the route of he'd go regardless, even leaving the valley unguarded because it was just that severe of an issue, because he ends up leaving them anyways. Uh, or if we went with the route he knew Shin and I lost complete train of thought. That was crazy. uh, knew Shen and knew the capabilities he could have, even though he wouldn't know about the cannons yet, and wanted to stick around. It just doesn't add up. There's an element would have been easily fixed, as we said, of a line that he just needed to protect the village, or keep Poe there to protect the village. Something we didn't get it. So I think that's objectively flawed with his character. What else? What's a big? I feel like I'm missing a big one that we talked about. Shoot.
Poe's
I'll go with
choice.
compliments. Post
No,
choice.
Poe's character add-on or
Oh
fleshing who
yes,
he is.
with yeah the who am I?
I
Who
don't
am
know if
I?
that's what you were angling for, but
It's not, but I'm glad you pointed it out because it is part of it. Yeah, the who am I part that wasn't really an issue in the first movie, and even if it was brought up now due to him realizing he's been adopted, even with that, he would still acknowledge his past with his dad, and it wouldn't be this added drama of "You're my son, right?" No answer. Uh, it's artificial drama. The characters wouldn't act this way. So, boo. We get some odd interactions with the five and Poe with the stealth section. As Ryder pointed out, why was Poe down there instead of with the five on the rooftops, following through with the plan? Uh, could be wanted to go his own route, wanted to impress them. Who knows? But didn't really work out properly. And I'm really rambly. Compliments. I agree with Sprinks with the animation. I don't think it's like top tier amazing, but there's good stuff here. They did a good job with the wet fur on Poe at the final showdown there. You could tell the difference between that and his standard fur, which was good. He was dry by the time he was fighting Shin, uh, which Shen, which I didn't point out, but overall, blah blah blah, rambling. Objectively, giving it a 7 as well. Unfortunately, matching my subjective.
you hate it when you do that.
Yeah, I haven't done that in a while, thankfully, but I hate to see it.
All right. Well, I guess that leaves me. Um, the plot has some issues. Like a little bit of everything else. There's little cracks, and I think in a lot of what's here that kind of drops it beneath the original. Mind you, I do think the thematic material is fairly equivalent to the original, but that doesn't factor into my objective. So I'll do my objective first. The plot is good, mostly good. The issues that I take away with it mostly pertain to Shifu teleporting. I'm not really sure about the time that passes. I do think that their plan, more or less, to get to Shen, I'm not really. It kind of falls apart with the whole stealth section. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if that's consistent. I have issues with plot armor. Funny enough, which pertains to characters. Tigris is dead. Poe is dead. Plot armor is great.
Yeah, that's what I was forgetting. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah,
I
you're
agree.
welcome, buddy. I got you back. I got your back. So then there is the. I think those are the major ones. I think for plot relevance, we kind of talked about how where the character ties into the plot. Shifu's teleporting, I think, would be a good one of how he appeared there, how he just appears in Gomez City. I think the Ox and Croc kind of showing up at the end to help. It's not really a big plot point, but it's there because that's something that affects their characters. From what little we understood of them, as to why Shifu is able to convince them, that's definitely plot related and character related. Um, so plot has some issues. I think the structure of it, though, is still functional. The archetype of the plot is good. There's a good foundation here with Shen's overarching plan, and Shen pushing the plot forward with his newfound weapon and in retaking his old family house seat in Gomeng City. I fucking said that name wrong. Oh well. Then we'll go to world building. I brought up the issue of kung fu in relation to the first one. If it's more, if there was something inconsistent about it, I think the main one that we all took away with is Shifu's ability to teleport. It's a very cool ability and very makes it funny, him avoiding Poe's hugs and just appearing in places to get Poe's reactions. But it's still nonetheless an ability he now has, and it is. I think that's probably the most detrimental one I think that we've gotten in terms of kung fu being a functional magic system. We don't know how far apart Gomeng City is from the Valley of Peace. We don't know how far or how the pandas ended up where they were, and that ties into damaging Shen's character a bit, which we touched on. So there's some intricately tied world building to characters, and then there is so general world building is I like Gomen City. Gomen City is a very cool place. I like the uniqueness it has about it. Um, I like the way that there is clearly like a hierarchy that Shen was meant to inherit that he took from the masters that were there. We get the masters were the ones running the city as a council before Shen uprooted them. So there is a lot of good world building that it's done as well, not in relation to characters. So world building is good. I like it overall. Characters. The good news is I don't really have much to add for the Furious Five that I didn't really already talk about during the podcast. The only one I really need to talk about, I guess, is Tigris, because Tigris is the one that gets the most screen time. Tigris is the one to comfort Mr. Ping. She's also encouraging Poe. She's willing to train with Poe. She's lending Poe an ear without judgment. She's a quiet but competent leader, as we see during the escape from the collapsing tower. She cares for friends, but she shows for it in different ways, and she lets it comes out when she hugs Poe and Poe hugs her. She's willing to do that because she knows Poe needs it, and as she says, the hardcore do understand. And she clearly has a principle of trying to draw the line at where a friend could get hurt or killed in a situation where they're clearly not at their best. So good stuff for Tigris. Um, with Shifu, we don't really get much other than he's mastered inner peace and he has a more laid back view in the world. Um, we need more with Shifu because as we have it right now in this film, I do think it trends in towards damaging his character with how uh, inactive he is. Would be the best way to put it. This is threatening his very livelihood in the same way that Tai Lung did, just indirectly. Um, he learned inner peace through pain and suffering. Uh, he looks at the day he met Poe as the worst day of his life. I could definitely see that as a very trying day for him. Um, and I think it's definitely more for a joke. I do still take issue with that line because there are arguments to be made with what we've gotten, which could service better days, worse days of his life. Being the day that Tai Lung betrayed, destroyed the valley, and almost killed him and broke his leg. I imagine that would be a very traumatic day. um,
Eh.
so there's room for that to grow. I actually do have notes for Uguay. Funny enough, he died and became the DreamWorks logo. What a mad respect for that, I suppose. Um,
Upgrades, people.
true. The notes that I've added for others, Monkey laughs at Poe's Furious 5 action figures. And I already talked about Viperous, and then we already talked about Crane. So there, that's pretty much my notes for the Furious 5 and Shifu. Moving on to Ping. Uh, Ping is scared of the issue that Poe brings up. Has a lot of anxiety and then resignation when he has to tell Poe the truth that he adopted him. He made changes to his doodles, and he obviously loved Poe to a very, very sharp degree. And we learn one of the cute things I like is that he worries about Poe constantly while he's away. So we see him vent to just some random customers that are there, being the Karen that Crimson brought up. And he's overjoyed when he's back and is happy to be called Dad again. Those are some emotional moments I like. What I don't like with regards to Ping, funny enough, has to do with Poe. Poe, I think, also gets an added character trait for the sake of drama, and it's like he lost the entire history of his life in order to facilitate him not calling Ping Dad or giving us that unnecessary drama. Uh, he gets war flashbacks. We learn about his history. So this is very much a Poe-centric film again, with him learning how to find inner peace and deal with that PTSD, his identity issues, and coming all together to make him who he is as the Dragon Warrior. He's still nonchalant in the face of danger usually. Comes up with he's, as Crimson pointed out, he is the strategist most of the time. He is willing to die to get answers, which is interesting to think about when he's facing down Shen in the warehouse. And he's the one who planned to save the five, and he's smart enough to keep the cannons from locking onto him. And I do like the first thing he does when he gets back is hug his dad. I appreciate that, even if I don't like the build up to it. So there is good with Poe and there is bad with Poe. I think a lot of what is good with Poe has to do with more of the thematic elements that tie into his character. Because we've gone back and forth over the course of this podcast with regards to the delivery. We talked about what, like, the inner peace section specifically when he's going through his memories. We talked about that in depth, and we he considers, Poe is just a well-rounded character still, though there is more damage to him this time around because they had some consistencies to keep up in the first film, and I think adding on the character trait was unnecessary. If they wanted to make him wonder and worry about his origins, they could have gone a completely different way with that if they wanted to, without necessarily having to damage his character. Which leads us to the villain of this film, very much to be Poe's opposite. Shen is dangerously inquisitive, ambitious, wants to avoid fate, willing to do horrible things, wants to conquer China, perfectionist. He's happy to monologue and gloat. It's purposeful when he does. It's both delivering world building to the audience, and it's in character for him because he is a perfectionist and he wants to be recognized for all the glory and what he's done and what he's planning to do. He's very impulsive when angry, which is also very important for his character. He likes to rehearse when he's talking. When he's thinking about his meeting with Poe, he's rehearsing what he might say to him, which I tie back into his perfectionist trait. He hides his fear behind intimidation. Typically, he was willing to let people live their musing, as we see with Poe in the Tower, and he gets annoyed with people when people interrupt his groove, which is a reference for me in my notes. Both He's both simultaneously petty and intimidating, which is an odd combination. But he's not intimidating in the way that Tai Lung was, in the sense of brute force. Shen is intimidating in a different way. He talks to himself when he's winning. I don't necessarily agree with Sprinks about Shen being a two-note character. I think Shen has a lot more dimensions to that, especially with when he learns that his parents really did love him from the soothsayer, which means he has to commit to conquering China without that baggage, which I think is another interesting facet to add. And Shen doesn't kill without reason, his own men, at least. He had to be pushed to it, and I think Crimson brought up the issues with that. Shen is very much the opposite to Poe thematically, which I've touched on several times in this. And that's kind of what elevates my subjective for me. But for my objective, I'm at a 7.5. It was not as good as the first, but there is still a lot here that I do like in terms of character work and the story that this movie is going with and trying to tell. Subjectively, I'll say, Sprinks, I'm not surprised you like Tong Lin more. A lot of people do. It's only on subsequent rewatches over the many years that I have seen this film that I grew to like Shen almost equally to Tai Lung, because they are very, very different villains. They offer very different things. Where Tai Lung is brute force, Shen is very much a personal villain for Poe. And subjectively, I believe I'm at an 8.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
Still fine.
You guys are funny. All right. Well, gentlemen, shall I read us out, or do you have any final thoughts you would like to share?
Well, Crimson, you still good on a double 7?
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? Yeah, I'm stuck with it.
Okay. I didn't know
All
if I
right.
gave you time to think about it.
Well, then I guess I'll read us out, gentlemen. Thank you for listening, audience, whether it be Spotify. Anchor got rolled into Spotify, so rest in peace, Anchor. But Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Samsung, and iHeartRadio. And if you happen to be on our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, watching our PNG tubers and our movie slideshow, thank you for watching. And if you are, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe anywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. As always, I have been a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.